Chapter 1 Stepping In. After a bone-weary workday, Tahan went home, fixed a quick meal to fill her stomach, then opened the forum Frenzy Survival for a late scroll. Because no one truly knows what may crash into tomorrow. On the forum, some members fretted while others bragged. One sighed, "I have stockpiled enough food and water at home for 1 year." Another mapped an escape plan. "Luckily I bought a car, the backpack stays on the back seat, otherwise I could not carry it every day." Someone listed gear without mercy. "Medicines are ready, a combat knife, a gas mask, combat boots, and a ballistic vest are on the way. Now please recommend 2 good brands of canned food so I can hoard." Bitter lessons also echoed. 10 years ago I rushed to panic buy salt after a nuclear leak rumor. The stash was absurd. Even now it is not finished, I cried in the bathroom. Put. Tahan burst into a laugh, yet her chest still ached for them. Back then salt was hyped sky high, 10 yuan a bag, could not resell, gifting it was snubbed. I ate for 10 years and still had piles left, who knows when it will end. Thankfully salt has no expiry date, we will use it slowly, tang. Finishing the thread, she concluded, no need to hoard too many condiments. Learning from others' stumbles lets her refine her own contingency plan bit by bit. When crisis hits, she will respond with steadier hands. Just as she meant to shut the screen and sleep, a fresh post was pinned, replies rocketed so fast she thought her eyes lied. The title was plain, the world's first virtual reality survival game is about to launch. Developer Cam Jong will host the first Infinite Survival tournament to promote it. Welcome to register. Survival mania stirred her blood, and she clicked straight into the sign-up guide. 1 month later the registration closed. The game was slated to start on the 1st of October. Since the space era year 3000, the span from the 1st to the 10th of October is a statutory holiday for citizens. No one may strip it away, so entrants need not worry about time. At dawn on the 1st of October, Tahan slid into the game pod, waiting in stillness for the opening. At exactly 8 o'clock in the morning all contestants logged in together. 1 second later a mechanical voice chimed, "Welcome to Infinite Survival, you may choose one of 3 professions." 3 options unfolded. Profession, Doctor. Innate skill, Basic, Inside instances, each day there is a 30% chance to receive common medicine and a 5% chance to receive rare medicine. Profession, Minor. Innate skill, Basic, Inside instances, each day there is a 30% chance to receive gold and a 5% chance to receive rare ore. Profession, Nutritionist. Innate skill, Basic, Inside instances, each day there is a 30% chance to receive a meal of 1 bottle of milk and 1 loaf of black bread, and a 5% chance to receive a set of 3 bottles of milk, 1 buttermeat bun, and 1 luxurious chocolate cake. Note, these events and chances may occur at the same time. She thought a beat and grasped the design. Doctor means a medicine source, minor means a money source, nutritionist secures food and water. All 3 are strong, their edges differ by scene. It was hard to pick. Whatever the world throws at you, survival begins with water and food, the rest can be traded. The voice returned, "Profession chosen, please wait while the system processes." A few seconds later a translucent panel lit up. Name, Tahan, real name verified. Level, 1. Profession, Nutritionist, Basic aptitude. Satiety, 100 of 100. Cleanliness, 100 of 100. Stamina, 100 of 100. Explanations followed. Satiety from 100% to 75% shows deep green, very full. From 75% to 50% shows light green, not hungry. From 50% to 25% shows yellow, a little hungry. From 25% to 0% shows red, very hungry. Cleanliness from 100% to 75% is deep green, clean. From 75% to 50% is light green, not dirty. From 50% to 25% is yellow, dirty. Daily necessities can raise cleanliness. Stamina drains if satiety or cleanliness falls below 50, the lower it goes the faster it drains. At 0 the avatar dies, the player is eliminated and cannot revive. With negative states or injuries, stamina keeps falling, drinking the right medicine clears the debuff. When hunger and cleanliness are both deep green, you may sleep or medicate, stamina will recover gradually. For every 30 days survived inside an instance, level +1, satiety cap +100, cleanliness cap +100, stamina cap +100, aptitude rank +1. So this really is a race run with your life, she muttered. The hungrier and dirtier you are, the faster stamina tumbles. Almost at once she set her top priority as stockpiling supplies. The system alerted, you have received 100 points from the system and may purchase materials in the shop. Note 1, while inside an instance you cannot enter the shop. Note 2, stock is limited and first come first served, once an item is sold out it shows sold out, purchases resume only after restock, restocking occurs before the next instance opens. Ha! She stiffened, so the shop can be emptied too, choosing a profession before entry truly is a mind game. She rushed to open the shop and scramble. The catalog ran from food and clothing to lodging tools and weapons like single sabers, twin blades, daggers, and other gear, a genuine grand system. Yet with only 100 points in hand it felt scant. Watching counts fall in real time, she sighed, locked targets, and spent the whole 100 in a breath. She bought a personal stash for 50 points with 10 slots, each slot holding up to 100 items of the same type. She bought a superb bundle for 40 points including 10 bars of soap, 10 bottles of spring water, 10 butter loaves, and 5 medical bandages. Notes: soap grants plus 25 cleanliness, price 2 points. Spring water of 250 milliliters grants plus 10 satiety, price 2 points. Butter floss bread grants plus 25 satiety, price 2 points. Medical bandage grants plus 10 stamina and removes bleeding, NK price books. 4 points. In other words, the 80-point sticker sum was packed to 40 points, saving more than half, so she did not hesitate. The remaining 10 points were converted to an instance currency, a total of 1,000 Bay. The currency inside instances is called Bay. Even so, she warned herself, purchasing power is unknown. If 1,000 shells buy only one bottle, it would be tragic. Weighing gains and risks, she stuck to the 3 buys above. It was not full preparedness, many pieces were missing, yet that kit should cover most cases. After spending, she saw total pieces counted near 1,000, while the mobile warehouse stock dipped from 722 by over 300 in a blink, proof that other players had begun their buying storm. Fortunately, she finished in time. The system asked, preparation complete, do you wish to enter now? She chose yes without pause. The system briefed, this round is a survival instance under hyperinflation, do your utmost to live. Note 1, survive 10 days to meet the clear condition, you may request to leave any time. Note 3, the more days you survive, the richer your clear rewards. Note 4, clear the extreme challenge by surviving 20 days to receive an extra reward, after 20 days survivors will be teleported out automatically. Note 5, Town A5, your server has 100,000 players and 400,000 resident NPCs. Note 6, hyperinflation officially begins at 9 this morning, meaning monthly price growth above 50%, the data have been tuned accordingly. Yikes, prices explode at 9. She startled. She had entered at 8. Spent about 5 minutes on choices, info, and shopping, now the in-game clock read 8:06. A race against time surged through her veins, every minute felt like minted gold. Author's note, players log in with real names to boost realism, the game uses base rate as currency, and the name was invented to dodge sensitive news, haha. Chapter 2, Inflation, Part 1. Time waits for no one, so Tahan moves at once. She aims for the nearest supermarket to spend all her money because after 9 o'clock everything will be pricier, buy more now while she can. She is not sure how the system is arranged, yet after a short 2-minute walk she spots a 24/7 department store. Entering the aisles, she sees money still buys a lot, a bottle of water costs 2 Bay, a bar of soap costs 5 Bay, and 1,000 Bay can buy plenty. She feels a pang of regret for not exchanging more, then calms down because no one can calculate everything perfectly. After one lap she is surprised that soaps, towels, toothpaste, face wash, body wash, fresheners, coolers, perfume, toothbrushes, and many other items can all raise cleanliness. They are single-use items, once used they disappear. Because her personal inventory can hold only 100 units per item, she grabs 90 bars of soap and 90 bottles of water and heads to the cashier. The line is short so her turn comes quickly. Soap costs 450 bay, water costs 180 bay, the total is 630 bay. The cashier looks puzzled, perhaps thinking this hoarder is a bit crazy. She offers no explanation, pays, and leaves. At the door she sees nearly 30 people rushing into the market. A thought pops up, a wave of players is targeting the supermarket. Lucky me, truly, she murmurs, a slight delay in the mall shelves will be sparse, and loitering there means crowding with others or suffering a long checkout line. If unlucky, some players might get nothing. She recalls that buying 90 bars nearly emptied the rack and wonders whether restock will come. Nearby a girl with glasses sweeps exactly 100 packs of noodles without blinking. She shakes her head and heads straight to the next stop, the pharmacy. As she steps in, the salesgirl stands stunned while more than a dozen customers grab at goods. Tahan grows anxious and joins the sweep. In the end she gets 5 rolls of medical bandage and 5 boxes of anti-inflammatory drugs for a total of 170 bay. She is just in time, otherwise it would be awkward to face empty shelves. She also needs money for other items, so she cannot burn it all. She casts a regretful glance at the counter and leaves. As she goes she hears the clerk mutter, "If they did not pay, I would think they came to rob the place." She checks the time, it is 8:38, yet she has no idea where the next shop is. With no better plan, she trudges along and searches store by store. At 8:57, after 20 minutes of hunting, she finally finds her target, a hardware store. She buys 2 slingshots and spends all remaining cash on steel pellets. In a blink the last 200 bay are gone. The owner asks, "Why do you need so many pellets?" She smiles lightly, hunting. The owner is speechless, he knows some customers like bird hunting with slingshots, he just did not expect this slim girl to enjoy it. "I am off now." She greets him casually, knowing that NPCs in this virtual world are as smart as real people. As she steps out, the system voice announces, "It is exactly 9 o'clock, the game officially begins, on day 1 the price level rises by 50%. Right away she notices new items in her inventory. Milk with a volume of 250 milliliters gives satiety plus 15. Dark bread gives satiety plus 15. Her satiety bar is still deep green, so there is no need to eat, she stashes both in the inventory. She strolls to the park across the street, sits on a bench, and sorts her thoughts. Hyperinflation is the free fall of purchasing power. Money that once bought a whole pig now buys half, then a chicken, then only a drumstick, and at last it is no better than scrap paper. Therefore the earlier you spend the more you get. She has rushed to spend before inflation, yet she still lacks a next step. Suddenly she remembers, those people at the door were likely players, while the ones who received the news late and ran over may be NPCs. What puzzles her is that everyone shows very similar info when she looks. For example, that man in a suit around 30 is hurrying into the store, when I look I see, satiety 85%, cleanliness 70%, stamina 90%, status good. A 5 or 6-year-old girl is in an adult's arms beside him. Looking at the child she reads, satiety 80%, cleanliness 85%, stamina 70%, status normal, currently feverish. NK books. She sighs, so in this game you cannot tell players from NPCs. After a moment she hits on a plan. A noodle shop posts a hiring notice and the boss lady worries, why did prices jump so suddenly, how will I survive these days? Doubt flickers across her face. Before her stands a short-haired, pretty, brisk young woman, yet still. With prices surging, freezing wages feels unkind, but the shop's business is only average and truly cannot pay too much. Counting meals, a monthly wage of 3,000 bay is still acceptable. Alright, the owner says crisply, the daily pay is 100 bay and we settle every night after closing. Okay, what should I do? Tohan rolls up her sleeves. There is a cook in the kitchen, you only need to greet and take orders, if there are no customers you may rest. Got it. It is just after 10, the shop is empty, so she sits in a daze. At lunchtime, the crowd comes. Before she can approach, customers shout, "One bowl is 15 baht, yesterday it was 10. Are you squeezing us? Why so expensive?" The owner sighs, "Prices have spiked, I can only raise the menu accordingly." "Fine, then I will pass," a man stomps off. Others stir as if ready to leave. She adds, "Everywhere outside is more expensive too, it is the same wherever you go." The words splash cold water, the regulars calm down, each chooses the cheapest bowl for lunch, while planning to bring a lunchbox tomorrow. She keeps a straight face, continues taking orders, and serves the bowls. Around 1 o'clock customers drift away, the head cook comes out and makes a bowl of wonton noodles for her. "Thanks," she says and begins to eat. Wonton noodles grant satiety plus 25. After eating, her satiety jumps to a full 100. "You are so young, why choose to be a waitress?" the owner asks. She answers gravely, "I can eat well, have a place to sleep, and earn spending money, serving is a good job." The owner thinks the girl lacks ambition, but a helper who does not complain about low pay is a blessing, so she does not nag. She encourages her, "Keep it up, life smooths out if you are thrifty." Yes, Tahan smiles, though inside she thinks that she cannot save and must spend whatever she holds. At night the owner prepares to close, points to a tiny room of about 5 square meters and says, "You will sleep here." Tahan looks around and feels it is fine, at least there is a bed and a quilt. Perhaps worried about the poor conditions, the owner smiles awkwardly and hands her 100 baht, "This is today's pay, if you feel hungry later, cook yourself a bowl of noodles, I will not charge." Far from minding, Tahan is delighted, "That is wonderful." It turns out the new hire gets free lodging, free meals, and daily wages, which is quite a deal. The author notes that this is pure fiction and declines arguments about logic and principles. From 8 to 9 in the morning, game time matches real time. After 9 in the morning, the in-game clock accelerates by many times. Thus, after clearing the first dungeon, players can still leave the pod in time for lunch. The Commanding Heights: 100 Years of World Economic History is a documentary about the 1930s crisis and the inflation of the 1970s. Soap is a consumable, each bar raises cleanliness by 20 points and is not meant to last half a month. Medicine is also consumable and disappears after a single use. Chapter 3, Inflation, Part 2. After the boss lady left, Tahan hurried to the supermarket. On arrival, the food and daily necessities were already cleared out, only baby food and sauces remained because they could not fill the stomach. She pondered, then walked along the street to look for a convenience store, a small shop, or a pharmacy nearby. After about 10 minutes, she found a convenience store. Inside, the shelves were almost empty, as if looted. Ahead there was a large pharmacy. The moment she entered, those shelves were bare too, making her think the shop would soon close. Asking around, she learned crowds had fought over goods until everything was gone. Money had lost value, paying less bought less, at least something could still be purchased. She strolled a loop like an evening walk. After roughly 40 minutes, she finally spotted a tiny shop in a corner alley. "What do you need?" the shopkeeper greeted first. She hesitated, she had stockpiled plenty already, yet no one dislikes more useful supplies, the more the better. Carefully counting, she now had 100 bars of soap, 100 bottles of water, 10 loaves of buttered meat bread, 10 medical gauze pads, 5 boxes of anti-inflammatory medicine, 70 bags of steel marbles with 100 each, and 2 slingshots. 10 bars of soap for me. Thinking her job could still earn food and water while medicine could not be bought easily, she chose to keep hoarding daily necessities. She paid and sighed with feeling. In the morning, a bar of soap at the supermarket was under 5 baht, by night it was already 8 baht. She truly felt relieved that there was still a place to buy necessities. Perhaps she had gone a bit crazy. With that thought, she bought toothpaste, a toothbrush, and a face towel, spending all the cash. After a tiring day, her cleanliness dropped from 100 to 53, nearly turning yellow. After using toothpaste, toothbrush, and towel, cleanliness returned to 98. After finishing a bowl of noodles, she collapsed into bed and quickly fell into a sweet dream. tomorrow would be a brand new day. At 8:30 the next morning she started work on time. Because it was early, the shop had few customers and little bustle. She greeted patrons while listening to their chatter. Several aunties at the front table ate noodles while lamenting. I went to a department store and queued for a whole hour before my turn. My friends are frantically swapping cash for goods. Everyone is panicking, which scares me too. No, I must buy more to store at home. I heard the shelves were restocked this morning. I must rush to grab some food. Yesterday the shelves were nearly empty and it terrified me. She thought the supermarket shelves were full again, which was good news. But reassurance lasted only moments because at exactly 9 o'clock the system voice announced, Day 2, the general price level rises by 50%. Yet the number of milk bottles and dark bread in her personal stash did not increase. Suddenly an auntie waved, Girl, these noodles taste fine, take one portion to go. The auntie complained, I just ate a bowl, was it not 15 bay? The boss lady spoke coldly, that was then, this is now, prices differ. The auntie choked up and gave up. After they left, the boss tossed, I am going to restock, you watch the shop, and hurried away. The girl guessed the boss feared flour prices would keep rising and rushed to buy, uncertain how much could be obtained. Not until about mid-afternoon did the boss return, face gloomy, I got 2 bags of flour to use first, after that we will figure something else out. Yes ma'am, the girl replied, while thinking that once the system said hyperinflation, what could anyone do? In the evening after getting paid she found the big supermarket empty again, so she reluctantly went to that corner shop. This time the small store was doing better than yesterday. Soap is 13 bay each, 15 bars left in total, but I must keep 5 for myself, so I can sell at most 10, the owner said. Plainly. She scoffed at herself, as if she could afford 10 bars. I will buy 7 bars of soap, and... She stared a while then asked, Do you have anything priced at 9 bay or less? The vendor smacked his lips, bottled milk, exactly 9 bay. Then 7 bars of soap and 1 bottle of milk, she decided. After dinner she used 2 bars of soap to raise cleanliness to 100, yet she tossed and turned sleepless. The game difficulty seemed higher than she imagined, each day felt like exponential growth. At 9 o'clock the next morning the system chimed on schedule, Day 3, the general price level rises by 50%. What does another 50% mean? A noodle bowl now at 23 bay would become 35 bay. In other words, a day working at the noodle shop earned less than 3 meals. Thinking optimistically, 3 meals equaled 2 days of wages. We are doomed, there is no way to live, the boss fretted, lips pouting. She promised to find a solution but thought and found none, even a bag of flour was hard to get. The girl said nothing and quietly kept working. When the shop could no longer hold out she would leave. That night, though she felt the corner store would be out of stock, she still went with a sliver of hope. As expected, the owner said, 20 bars of soap sold out long ago. Then what remains? She wanted to spend money. Food, drinks, supplies, nothing remains, the owner answered simply. She was speechless and could only accept fate. By noon everything was gone. You arrived late so of course you bought nothing, the owner lectured. She spread her hands, I have to work from morning to night and only then have time. The owner looked at the young woman and, softening, pointed her away. At a department store they restock every morning at 6, if you go early you may get daily necessities. He paused and wondered, by the way, why buy so much soap? Hoarding, she blinked, then solemnly, I fear shortages later, so I want to store more at home. For ordinary people 1 bar of soap lasts half a month, but for players 1 use means 1 bar, and after use it disappears. Exactly because many think like that, daily necessities sold out, the owner shook his head, calling hoarding a bad behavior. She smiled without arguing and left. On day 4 she woke very early and rushed to the department store to shop. Unexpectedly many shared the same idea. At dawn the store was already packed and shoving was fierce. As soon as staff loaded goods onto shelves, customers swarmed to grab them. She moved fast and snatched 5 bars of soap, then squeezed out to pay. Then she saw a line more than 10 meters long. In an instant her heart nearly collapsed. Still, to buy soap she had to queue. Back at the noodle shop the boss fretted and mumbled. She ignored it, made herself a breakfast bowl, and began work. Exactly at 9 the system's mechanical tone tolled like a death bell. Day 4, the general price level has risen by 75%. Hyperinflation did not slow, it accelerated. The boss inhaled deeply and said gravely, "I want to discuss something with you." "Please speak, ma'am." She appeared obedient but already guessed that a bowl at 61 Bay made daily wages unbearable. Yet the boss proved kind. The boss proposed, "No more wages, I will cover 2 meals, lunch and dinner, how about that?" "No problem," the girl smiled, easy to negotiate. She knew jobs were scarce and even with wages it was hard to buy what she needed. Having 2 meals covered was a bargain. However, on day 5 prices rose by 75% again. On day 6 prices rose by 75% again. On day 7 prices rose by 100%. In just 3 short days the price of a bowl of noodles soared to 375 Bay. Then came worse news. Due to shortages of raw materials many factories must shut down and workers lose their jobs. Author's note says that each day 50 cleanliness points are lost and 2 bars of soap are needed to restore. I try to avoid repetition because it feels tedious. In history there were countries where prices doubled daily. I recall one doubled in 23 hours and another in 25 hours. Chapter 4, Inflation 3. A part-time job cannot feed a family, and when people lose work and income they pawn valuables for food as pop-up fairs and black markets mushroom. Many are jobless while only a few keep their posts, and soon Han joins the unemployed. At noon on the 7th day after lunch the owner announces that the noodle shop will not open anymore, please look after yourselves. With no free meals ahead, Han feels a twinge of disappointment. Since entering the game for 7 days she has eaten at the shop, so she has not touched her stash and even saved some supplies like milk, black bread, and soap bought with wages. Even after switching from 3 meals to 2 she cannot eat freely because daily satiety drops by about 50 and 2 bowls of noodles just refill it. She adjusted the times to 8 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon which neatly solved the daily consumption. Now that she is unemployed she wonders how to muddle through the coming days. Seeing her sit still the owner sighs and says, "Sorry, I have no other way, the shop truly cannot continue, I must leave myself a way out." Startled then smiling, Han says, "It is okay, I understand," already surprised she could stay until the 7th day. She waves goodbye, has nothing to pack, and leaves. After thinking she decides to stroll the market in case someone trades an heirloom for food. Yet within 10 minutes on the way she witnesses 3 robberies. First a grim middle-aged man snatches a lollipop from a preschool girl and bolts. Second a man shoves down a 70-plus elder, rifles the pockets for a wad of cash, and speeds away. She grows cautious and chooses the widest streets. Even so someone tails her. Calmly she faces 3 people, 1 woman, and 2 men. She figures a young woman alone looks conspicuous and easy to bully, thus the blockade. The woman grins and says, "Do you have any food on you? Hand it over and I will let you go." Han quietly draws a slingshot and steel pellets from her inventory. The robberess beams, thinking the prey is yielding, but a pellet flies the next instant. Ah! A can of soda in a man's hand sprouts a hole and the drink gushes out. The trio gapes. Coolly loading another pellet she says, "I always prefer to aim for the face." Go! The woman bolts first. The 2 men race after. All 3 run madly without looking back. Han holsters the slingshot, returns the pellets, and muses, "I need a backpack because the inventory is getting cramped." In other words, the odds and ends are hogging a slot. With a backpack the open pellets can go into a pouch, she thinks, and heads to the market. Perhaps others saw her defense and realized she is not easy to mess with, because no fool bothers her afterward. Soon she arrives at the market, a small park with blankets everywhere. Candles for sale, very useful, do not miss out. Matches, lighters, and fire starters, all here, just want some food in exchange, come take a look. Extra thick quilts, especially warm, step right up. Backpack here, absolutely tough, bought less than half a month ago, still 90% new. Nylon is a synthetic made from petroleum. The fabric is thick and mechanically strong. With a PU or PVC inner film, it resists water very well. It also resists moisture, grime, dust, and is flame retardant. A wavering customer haggles. 2 slices of bread are too expensive, I will buy for 1 slice. The stall owner frets, how is that expensive? I paid over 100 baht for it, 2 slices are worth maybe 20. Seeing the backpack still fresh, Tahan says 2 slices then, I will take it. The owner freezes, then beams that she has good taste. The customer scowls, cutting in is rude, girl. Then pay 2 slices and I will step back, she says coolly. You do not sound sincere about buying, so I spoke up. He eyes the 2 and smirks. You 2 are in cahoots, are you acquainted? She deadpans. You are overthinking. Fine, you buy, I will yield, I am not fooled, the bag is worth 1 slice at best. The owner cautiously inquires what she decides. If he does not want it, then I will take it, she says and hands over 2 pieces of black bread. She slings the pack and keeps browsing. The customer gawks with mouth agape for a long time. First she trades her last black bread for 5 candles, then asks the next stall, how do you price lighters and ferrocerium rods? The vendor perks up because this is a generous buyer who flips out bread without blinking. He gushes, you have great eyes, my lighters are limited editions and very precious. She replies evilly, cut the fluff, I need a lighter to make fire, limited or not does not matter, since those editions are for looks and memory and hold little fuel. The vendor is stumped. Ordinary lighters are fine, quote me, and I want a ferro rod too, she adds, because ferro rods are excellent. They mainly contain cerium and lanthanum and a hard brittle iron-like alloy that throws sparks when scraped. Add a magnesium rod and it lights even easier. Cerium has the symbol Su and an atomic number of 58. Lanthanum has the symbol La and an atomic number of 57. Magnesium has the symbol Mg and an atomic number of 12. A survival fire starter kit is very practical. Disposable lighters run out while ferro rods last for many uses. The vendor twitches his lips and asks, I can sell, but how much can you pay? She counters, what do you want? Though her stash is rich, she will not be fleeced. Tell me what you have, he insists. She says, you name a price, if it works we talk, otherwise I will try someone else. The threat of going elsewhere hits hard. He has waited long with few buyers for ferro rods. In barter, people care less about original cost and more about how many need the item. He licks his lips and states 5 ordinary lighters and 1 ferro rod with a magnesium stick for 2 pieces of bread, no less. She peeks into her stash and says wryly, I am out of black bread. She does have buttermeat bread but refuses to use it. He suspects a lie but keeps quiet. She continues, 1 bar of soap and 1 bottle of milk, will that do? Soap, he thinks in shock, because on the black market soap is pricey and 1 bar can trade for 2 or even 3 pieces of black bread. Deal. Her generosity draws some stares. She walks slowly with a faint ironic smile. She knows wealth tempts hearts, and in times like these food and daily necessities outrank money. A normal girl would avoid the spotlight and quietly collect supplies across different markets. She is not a normal girl. She learns self-defense, trained with a slingshot, has defined vest lines, and often camps outdoors. She is a bona fide tough woman. In the Chinese original, the term means vest lines, the abdominal grooves formed by the straight and oblique muscles that resemble a vest's edges, hence the name. She reflects that she stayed too long at the noodle shop where most patrons remained relatively fine, which offers poor reference. It is time to find and chat with a few people to learn how the lower rungs are faring. Chapter 5, Inflation 4. Just as Tahan tried to slip into a quiet corner, a drunk lurched up and crashed hard into her. Her face turned cold and she said softly but firmly, drop the act, hand back what you stole. The items in her personal stash were intact, yet her backpack felt lighter. Clearly this man was the problem. The drunk kept pretending not to hear, plastered and senseless. Believe I will toss you into the river to sober you up? Tahan said icily. He stalled, while cursing inside at how sharp her tongue was. NK Books. The pack is lighter, so you stole steel marbles, she said flatly. If it were something else I might have missed it. Grimly, he pulled a pouch from his chest and tossed it back here. She caught it and asked, You are not afraid I will beat you to death? He sniffed. Beating someone is tiring. I have not eaten, do not waste your strength. He paused, then asked seriously, Got a drink? What do you mean? She asked. If there is a drink, I will admit I am a player and chat a bit. If not, you can go, he said lazily, which was a veiled confession. She thought, then shook a milk bottle before him. Answer well and it is yours. His eyes lit up and he teased, Never thought you were living so well. Shut up. Tahan lowered her voice, worried locals were near, and said, Find a better place to talk, follow me. He sneered but trailed after her because he craved the milk. He reeked of real alcohol, hair a mess, cheeks flushed, eyes puffy. Life clearly had gone wrong. Tell me what you know, she said. He held out a hand. Pay first. She tossed him the milk, then produced another. Answer well and this one is yours too. He spilled what he knew. I am Noidan. Try it, a thief. If I touch a target there is about a 30% chance I steal something. You worry locals will hear us. No need, I tested it. Once we say the word player the system masks it. Even if we speak loudly about game stuff the NPCs think we are babbling. He added, My innate skill steals by touch. It sounds odd, but the system normalizes NPCs being stolen from. Tahan nodded then eyed him. Why are you in such a sorry state? Even with 100 points for food and essentials it should not be this bad. Do not mention it, he groaned. The system ruined me. How so? After reading character stats, you think stockpiling food and essentials lets you live to the end, right? If spring water is useless, trade for other supplies, she said. He chuckled, then went solemn. If you think that way you will fall into a trap soon. Why? She asked. Spring water only adds a bit of satiety, but if daily intake is under 500 milliliters, next day dehydration hits and stamina keeps dropping. Though it need not be spring water, cola, milk, or alcohol all count, he said. Towels and a toothbrush can raise cleanliness, but if 72 hours pass without soap or body wash, infection chance spikes. Likewise, chocolate and candy raise fullness, but within 72 hours you must eat a staple, rice or flour. Both count. I have not triggered it myself, but players have. His voice turned bleak. Lessons paid in pain. She recalled the starter pack, with soap, bottled water as a source, buttermeat bread as staple, and medical bandage as supplies, all core needs, so the system had hinted long ago. Because the personal stash is limited to 10 slots, she had stocked by those categories, accidentally hitting the optimal plan. She added, I eat at a noodle shop, sip broth as water, and I hoard soap by habit. He was speechless. Noodles were staple, broth was water, and soap was covered. No wonder she did not feel hardship. Did you not buy the personal stash and the starter pack? She pressed. He admitted relying on alcohol for hydration. He disliked alcohol. Drink enough and you get drunk and even alcoholic. Department stores restock at 6 in the morning. People queue from 4 to 5, and before 7 shelves are bare. Water, drinks, and other items are hard to find. Have you considered boiling water? She asked. He froze. He could just find tap water and boil it, like the noodle shop did, and too much alcohol drains stamina and cleanliness quickly. He deflated, calling himself a fool who shattered a good hand. Anything else? She cut in, already satisfied but still fishing. He said many are unemployed and cannot afford food. Theft and robbery keep happening. For now they only grab goods without harming people, later is uncertain. People trade valuables for food, and after trading, to survive they may do anything. Department stores restock at 6 in the morning, but lines form from 4 to 5, it is hard to snatch, and before 7 shelves are cleared. Some poor folks pick rotten leaves at the market, others fish or snare birds to improve meals. Beyond that I do not know. He laughed bitterly. Once you can boil water, whether you get to drink milk hardly matters. At 1:30 in the afternoon, several people gathered to fish at Four Seasons Park. Suddenly one man shouted with joy, a bite, a fish, and reeled in a plump catch. Grinning, he teased the elder beside him, Mr. Ha, how is it, how many did you get? He knew full well the neighbor had none. Mr. Ha snapped, you clang and scare the fish away. Loudon kept needling, you do not know how to fish, why keep 2 rods, swap one to someone who needs it. I like it. Mr. Ha retorted stiffly, stubborn outside yet guilty within. For 3 days others had harvest while he had none, rice at home was nearly gone, if he failed again the family would starve. He was old and it mattered little, but his granddaughter was still a child. The thought made him gloomier. A clear young voice rang out, whose fishing rod is this, does it have an owner? Not for sale, he barked. Then can I rent it? The voice asked. Rent? He looked up and saw a lively short-haired girl, Tahan. How to rent? He asked, lacking confidence in his skill. I rent for 4 hours and we split the fish, she smiled. He almost said what if you catch nothing, but swallowed the words. Leaving a rod idle all day had led to nothing. It could not get worse. All right, sit next to me and fish, he agreed, nothing to lose. Author's note: the system boasts its perfect setup. The nutritionist says milk counts as water and dark bread as a staple, exactly meeting the rules, otherwise how could the title be nutritionist? Chapter 6: The Surge of Inflation. Tahan sat beside Old Ha at once. He glanced over and said slowly, young one, fishing is not simple. He sighed, listed his hard-won lessons, and was cut off midline. Fish are crafty, they. When the water heaved in under a minute, Tahan reeled fast and a big grass carp hung from the hook. Grass carp can reach about 1.5 meters, weigh around 45 kilos, and live up to 21 years. She unhooked the fish, dropped it in the iron pail, then smiled innocently. What did you just say? I did not catch it. Old Ha cleared his throat. Nothing, keep going. Strangely, he had waited 3 days without a bite, yet since she came each while another fish came up, for in half an hour. He felt both glad and doubtful, glad there would be fish to take home, and wondering how she did it, the rod or the spot. He hesitated and bargained, shall we swap places? After switching he found his first spot was swarming, the bites even faster. Tahan offered, want to swap rods too? He fell silent, wanted to but felt shy. Thinking of his hungry granddaughter he sighed and pushed another rod over. You handle it, I will not get in the way. He stopped hogging the place and simply divided fish for trade. Tahan noticed he was kind, the fat ones stayed in her bucket while the leaner ones were taken out. A soft breeze blew as she set 2 rods, lifting and lowering at ease. Others who landed one yelled without shame, while she, with nearly 10, stayed calm and thought that one fish was no reason to shout. Just past 4:30, word spread that someone had many, and people rushed in to buy. One begged, trade me a grass carp for 4 packs of noodles, another said, I want a crucian, 2 jin of tofu for it, with a note that 1 Chinese jin equals half a kilo here. Seeing exactly 5 fish in the pail, Tahan nodded and asked Old Ha to swap for noodles. He whispered, hold on, the black market pays more. She answered low, can you carry 5 or 6 fish home safely? He fell silent, recalling friends robbed of their haul, some even slipped and lay injured for days, and how he never had that happy trouble since he always took an empty bucket home. She kept fishing while he haggled hard. No, 2 jin of tofu is too little, add more, then 3 jin of rice is short, make it 4, no 4 at home, joking, and someone asked any shower gel, 2 fish for some. Usually he avoided quarrels, but for his granddaughter he brimmed with energy. In the end 5 fish became 12 packs of noodles and 4 bars of soap. Seeing families with supplies still doing passably, Tahan thought the present was not desperate, yet if hyperinflation lasted the future would be unsure. Old Ha beamed with food in arms. Tahan winked and suggested gently, luck is good today, we landed 11, let me cook fish soup for all to taste. He almost refused, then caught on and agreed yes indeed, adding bring spices, but he grimaced, there is no pot or stove. Someone offered borrow a pot from the homeless in the park, another added borrow a stove too. The poor folk, hearing soup, dropped rods and pitched in. When it boiled, the aroma drifted more than 10 meters, and people hurried up asking for a bowl. They turned and froze, for Old Ha and the girl with a backpack had slipped away. He sneered, if we do not leave now then when? Do you take me for a fool? The crowd was speechless. Elsewhere Tahan ran light with backpack and rods, while Old Ha lugged a heavy iron pail and many goods. She asked why no bag, then hurried to help. He groaned that carrying a pail wasted strength, and she held her tongue. He asked your name, where you live, and will you come tomorrow? She said, I am Tahan, and I have no place for now. She felt that one fished and one bartered, so it was cooperation. He invited fast stay at my house for now, there is a spare room, he warmly added, I have yet to thank you, thanks to you I could trade for much. He feared no wolf at the door since she was only a polite girl, and she even looked better off, so if worry existed it was hers. She asked, will it be inconvenient? He said no, she accepted, since a bed was safer than fretting at night. Wishing to fish together again, he led her by quiet lanes, and they met no one on the way. At home Madame Kwong was doubtful that they could host a guest in times like this. She rushed out and cried, rice, tofu, fish, shower gel, did you rob someone? She knew well her husband's fishing skill. He blushed and scolded, nonsense, help me unload. She fretted, why is the tofu crushed? He looked up, it is a blessing it arrived at all. They bickered but worked fast and finished. He called, do not stand, have a seat. Tahan thanked him and sat, and saw a little girl about 6 or 7 peeking from the bedroom door. He beamed, sweetie come, there is fish today. The child's eyes lit and saliva pooled. Madame Kwong called, old man, help in the kitchen. He paused and went in, though their voices were low. Tahan's sharp ears caught the whisper. She asked, cook rice. The rice could be porridge for several days. He replied with mild ire, without our guest we would have no rice at all. She sighed, true, and they fell silent. Pretending not to hear, Tahan asked the child, where are your parents? The girl said softly, working in another region. She asked, do you like milk? Opening her backpack as she spoke, the child murmured, I do but I cannot take it, then darted back to the room. Grandpa said do not take others' things. Tahan halted, moved. Soon dinner was ready and Madame Kwong smiled, come eat. Tahan served herself a small bowl of rice, a little fish soup, and 2 pieces of tofu, then said, please eat, do not worry for me. I had noodles at noon and I am fine. The old couple exchanged a look and understood. She asked Don, is there another fishing spot for tomorrow? The park might be awkward. He thumped his chest, there is, I will lead you, a place with few people and hardly any traffic. After today he carved the rule that wealth should not be displayed. Chapter 7, Inflation 6. After dinner, Tahan deliberately reminded them, I will stay only one night, I will handle everything else myself, so please do not prepare anything special. Mr. Ha was about to say more but she cut him off, if it keeps on like this, I will not stay. He then fell silent in frustration. To avoid troubling others, after eating she went into the room and locked the door. She slept soundly. The next morning, after a full breakfast, Mr. Ha pedaled his tricycle out of the gate. Tahan rode alongside for convenience. Before they left, Mrs. Kwong chattered the neighbor's daughter-in-law from the Vong family is quick-witted. When inflation first started, she stocked only rice and pickled mustard greens. I fear it would last more than 1 year. Today I will try to ask if I can trade some tofu. Hearing rice and pickles, Tahan sighed that they keep well and fill the stomach, truly folk wisdom. While they were riding, Mr. Ha suddenly saw something, braked in fright, and muttered, what is that man doing? Does he not want to live? Tahan stopped and looked and saw someone climbing the narrow ledge of a warehouse roof. She vaguely recalled, if I am not mistaken, birds nested up there, he must be trying to take the eggs. She noticed the birds because she had considered hunting. Mr. Ha mumbled, that is far too dangerous. Without meeting Tahan and with nothing to eat at home, he would have climbed for his granddaughter, yet now without that pressure the thought felt unreal. After he thought it through he looked a little sad. He shook his head and said softly, do not mind it, let us go. Before turning away, Tahan glanced at the unprotected man risking himself for bird eggs and thought that if food makes people gamble with life, chaos is near. After quite a while they reached the place Mr. Ha had praised as excellent. It was a small stream on the outskirts and indeed no one was around. Tahan settled there to fish with an easy mind. The stream held fewer fish than the park lake, and by day's end she caught only 14. She was still satisfied, for though the haul was smaller, it was quieter and safer. Mr. Ha was overjoyed, lifted the iron bucket of fish onto the tricycle's backseat, and exclaimed, if we sell these on the black market, food and drink will not be a worry. He had chosen the tricycle today to carry goods more easily. Whether they could eat and endure to the end, she did not believe so, but she did not want to hurt his confidence and changed the topic. Let us head back. Go, he replied cheerfully. The return trip was uneventful. Back home, Mrs. Kwong had a basin ready and separated the fish into tubs. Mr. Ha asked you remember the way to the stream, right? Tomorrow afternoon I will pick you up. Tomorrow morning I will trade for some essentials on the black market. Your share is still instant noodles, yes? Yes. To-han nodded. Just as he thought life would improve, an accident happened. The fishing stream was exposed. In the morning they passed by and saw hundreds of people crowding to fish. He jumped and cried, "How can this be? How did they find it? It was obviously secret." To-han stayed quiet for a while and said, "After the black market trip when you came back to pick me up, are you sure no one followed you?" She shrugged. "That is likely how it was found." Mr. Ha groaned, "I should have been more careful." Let it be. To-han truly did not mind hiding for 3 days is already hard. Fish in the parks and city lakes are almost gone. Those who do not wish to wait for death will change spots. In other words, exposure was only a matter of time. Even 1 day later would still be better, he kept blaming himself. With the stream exposed they could only watch. By the 8th day the general price level rose by 100%. By the 10th day it rose by another 100%. Prices were shooting up faster than a rocket taking off. A bowl of ordinary noodles now cost more than 3,000 bae. Reports said all the zoo animals had been slaughtered by criminals. The brink before order collapsed was close. Seeing the two of them return, Mrs. Kwong asked in puzzlement, "Why are you two back already?" "Do not mention it." Mr. Ha sighed and told the story of the exposed stream. She scolded, "How could you be so careless?" I. He stammered without words. Wanting a fishing rod, To-han asked, "I am leaving soon, can I buy your fishing rod?" Mrs. Kwong hurried to say, "My husband did not mean it, please do not be angry." To-han shook her head calmly, "I am leaving not because the stream was found but because time is almost up. Once people know there are fish, they will flood the place, but what if the fish are all caught?" Before they could react she continued, after gnawing bark and roots, "If people want to eat, they will dare do anything out there. I must first find a hidden place to hide." "Why not stay here?" Mr. Ha asked. She smiled helplessly. In chaotic times, when one can barely guard oneself, how can one take on others? Being passers-by in each other's lives may be better. No one is truly responsible for anyone. Seeing her decision, he sighed, "No need to talk about buying, the rod is yours. You helped us so much, I am grateful." She thought a moment and said, "Then I will accept." After they agreed, he warmly urged, "Stay one more night and leave in the morning." She smiled and agreed. On the morning of the 11th, when Mrs. Kwong did not see her come out, she knocked. "Are you inside?" "I am coming in." After waiting without an answer, she opened the door and found the room empty, and on the table were some rye bread, milk, soap, and instant noodles worth far more than the rod To-han took. "So there are still good people in this world," she said with emotion. To-han sat on a bench deep in thought. Money was now like waste paper, robbers were growing, how could she keep herself safe? At exactly 9 o'clock, the system voice sounded. "On the 11th day, the price level rises by 100%. The notice continued goods in department stores are running out. From now on, the government will impose purchase limits." Suddenly someone quietly approached. Sensing it, To-han drew her slingshot and aimed at the newcomer. "Do not get excited. It is me." Wei Dan Triot shouted. Her stance did not change, she only frowned. "It is already the 11th day, why have you not left?" Wei Dan Triot declared, "The more days you survive, the faster the rank rises. How could I pass that up? There is also a bonus for surviving more than 20 days, I must try at least once." She pretended to lower her hand. He panicked, "We are just chatting here. Last chance." She vaguely felt he was strange. He had to confess, "It is for the survivor rewards. Is it not written clearly, survivors ranked from 1,000 to 10,000 get 10,000 yuan, from 100 to 1,000 get 100,000 yuan, and the top 100 get a reward worth 1 million yuan. Even if I cannot reach the top 100, at least I can get into the top 10,000. She lowered the sling, "So that is it. She knew the endgame promised big cash prizes for those who endured, but she did not care. He studied her and asked, "Were you robbed? Why do you look so down?" She lied lightly, "The game is getting harder and I cannot level up." In truth, passers-by were ragged and dirty, and being clean and plump would be suspicious. It was like posting a sign that she was a fat sheep to be butchered, so she made herself grimy to blend in. The line, "The game is getting harder," matched his feelings. Ever since entering he had been tricked half to death. His blood rose and he said eagerly, "Do not say I do not look out for you, there is a big deal now, do you dare to join?" She fell silent. That tone sounded like inviting her into a bandit den. "What deal?" she asked. He straightened and said slowly, "Rob the rich to help the poor." Her face stayed calm. "Where to rob?" "Supermarkets, hospitals, eateries," he rattled off 3 places. She refused without hesitation. "You go if you want, I will not." Robbery had no place in her plan. With disagreement, the two parted ways. She sat a while longer and then walked to the Central Park woods to plan a hunt. This time in the park she was shocked to find the forest utterly silent, as if every bird had died out. "I fear there is not an egg left," she muttered, shook her head, and left. Chapter 8, Inflation 7. On the night of the 11th, looting erupted madly across the town. Supermarkets, restaurants, pharmacies, convenience stores and bakeries were all ransacked. The clamor of smashing screams and fire roared without pause. All night long Tu-Han hid in a rough semi-finished room without windows but free to enter and leave. She merely shifted her posture and went back to sleep amid the chaos. At dawn on the 12th she peeked out and saw the misery. Shops that had stayed open turned to ruins with owners missing. People lay on the road mostly badly hurt and some near death. Those with stamina at 0 were likely transmitted away. Key supply points like department stores and supermarkets stayed safe thanks to 40 to 50 guards watching overnight. Clearly there was more than one criminal group. She murmured. The number of people who cannot hold on keeps growing. With purchase limits one could still buy by queuing, so she would have joined the scramble at the department store, but her pockets were empty and not a single bay on her, so she gave up. She gnawed a buttermeat bun and checked her inventory. Her personal stash had 100 soaps plus 14 soaps taking 2 slots, 100 bottles of spring water, 9 buttermeat buns, 60 packs of noodles, 10 medical bandages, 5 boxes of anti-inflammatory pills, 69 bags of steel marbles, 2 slingshots, and 1 fishing rod. In the backpack there was 1 open bag of marbles, 5 candles, 5 lighters, 1 magnesium rod and 1 firestone. That was all she owned. Like instant noodles, you could eat them dry, but satiety was only half of cooked, so eating dry was not ideal. And now her ready-to-eat food was only 9 butter meat buns. When I entered the game I felt meat buns and butter buns were pricey, so I lacked money to stock them. Milk and rye bread were few and took slots, so I used them first. She calculated and wondered. Where can I get butter meat buns now? Her talent had a 5% chance to grant a luxury ration of 3 bottles of milk, 1 butter bun and 1 chocolate, but the rate was too low to count on. Resting her cheek she mused. Should I eat the buttermeat buns and switch to hoarding rye bread? Rye had a steadier source so stocking would be easier, yet buttermeat buns felt like future instances would scarcely drop them. She tidied the stash while summing up her thoughts. Soon it was 9 o'clock. The system chime arrived. On day 12, overall prices rise by 100%. Power is insufficient, from today supply is restricted, households face 2 hours of blackout each day, and after 8 in the evening there is total outage. Pipes lack maintenance and bacteria in tap water far exceed limits. From today tap water is undrinkable and forcing it risks poisoning. Her heart sank. Outages were tolerable since she moved by day and had candles, but undrinkable tap water was cruel because people cannot live without water. The crowd would surely panic more. One small joy, she found 4 bottles of milk, 1 rye bread, 1 buttermeat bun and 1 chocolate in her backpack. Chocolate after use adds 40 satiety. For once she felt lucky to be a nutritionist. Though she could hide in a quiet place, she chose to stroll to see whether she could pick up supplies because no one disliked extra materials. Leaving the lodging she saw a street stall beside the department store ringed by people. Curious she approached. The stall held lighters, a long burning candle and many bottles of water. next to it sat a huge backpack for hauling goods. A sign on the left read, "If robbed, the stall will no longer be set up," unclear if warning or threat. Another on the right read, "Barter only. The owner accepts jewels and medicines. For other practical items, ask first. Come on, queue up, ask one by one, no rush." The owner was a young man around 25, tall and springy, perhaps 1 meter 85, with a trained look. She judged him shrewd, with 40 to 50 guards at the department store watching. Ordinary robbers would not dare. As time passed, people realized that worse than weaker money was having money and still failing to buy what they needed. Here supply was relatively stable, though not easy, yet there was hope. Without the stall there would be no reliable place for candles or water, so people cooperated and formed a long line. Tu-Han lacked neither water nor candles, so she observed quietly. The first customer opened her palm, showing a gold ring, a gold chain, and gold earrings dazzling bright. "All candles and water," the customer said tensely. The quoted barter made her cry out. So cruel. In other words, later there might be no stock left to trade. She gritted her teeth. "Give me 2 candles and 1 bottle of water." She kept the ring because she could not part with all. Watching, Tu-Han noticed clear text when she looked at the ring. Gold ring, pure gold, 4.8 grams, handy to avoid deceit. The second customer held a small gold Buddha. "My treasure weighs 50 grams, you cannot count it as mere decor, right? I count it as 10 items, what do you want to trade for?" the youth asked. The man tried to haggle, but the owner stayed cool. "It is bulky and hard to carry, and cutting is not easy, the price is enough." He fell silent and chose goods. The third customer presented a jade bracelet of clear green, and Tu-Han wondered if she should trade for some gold, useless here but perhaps useful in other instances, yet she gave up after weighing the hassle of carrying gold and the fact that before entry she only exchanged a little currency and lacked stored materials. She shook her head and left in regret. The stall owner tilted his head, watching her leave with a thoughtful air. With time to spare, she planned to tour the market, which had no fixed location. More stalls drew more visitors and then more followed, thus a spontaneous market formed. She walked on and looked. Perhaps due to last night's rampage, the variety was rich: canned food, shampoo, medical bandages, and many other things. Someone brushed past and whispered, "Player?" Barely audible unless you paid attention. She turned toward the voice. Behind her stood a young girl about 17 or 18, who lowered her voice. "I have information. Do you have daily necessities?" The girl pursed her lips and followed. "I will say the first half of a sentence. You can choose whether to hear the second half." Tu-Han raised a brow. "For example?" "All daily necessities improve cleanliness, but..." The girl paused and signaled payment to hear the rest. Tu-Han cut in. "I know that. NK books. All foods are fine." She cut again. "I know, next line." The girl stared at her and then asked, "Do you have daily necessities?" "Soap, over a dozen bars." Tu-Han reported. The girl thought long and decided. "A method to manage the personal stash, my own experience, but the price is high, 10 bars of soap." Tu-Han smiled faintly. "For example?" She warned herself that if the advice was just hoard as much as possible she would flip, so the girl showed sincerity. "When stocking up, strive for instant foods with high satiety, that way you endure longer in instances and it is convenient to eat. Other foods become hard to cook once water or gas runs out." "Right, but I have considered that too." Tu-Han tossed 1 bar as a small fee and turned to leave. The girl cried out, "5 bars of soap, I will tell you everything I know. Surely you cannot already know all of it." Moreover, due to lacking soap and body wash for a long time, the girl's stamina had slowly dropped and was about to hit 50, and few players had a personal stash, so encounters were rare with almost no starting base, thus she really had no choice. Tu-Han stopped. 5 bars were not expensive and listening was fine. She paid the rest and said leisurely, "Speak." The girl calmed and explained. "The personal stash has 10 slots. The first slot holds 100 bottles of clean drinks, be it spring water, milk, or soft drinks. The second slot holds 100 soaps for cleanliness. The third slot holds instant foods with high satiety for fullness. With these 3 you need not hoard more, while the remaining 7 slots can store survival tools. Tu-Han kept a flat face. 1 slot for tools? While speaking she thought the kid was lying and she wanted a refund. The girl continued. In fact, each slot holds 1 category, and within a category there can be countless variants as long as they are the same group. For example, the water slot can hold spring water, milk and soft drinks together. Hearing this, Tu-Han was stunned. Chapter 9, Inflation Escalates. The personal stash has 10 slots, each slot holds at most 100 items of a single type. If you only cram the 10 most useful items, you fall into a rut and lose the edge. For example, right now 10 medical bandages, 5 boxes of anti-inflammatory pills, and 2 slingshots already occupy 3 slots. But if you put those 3 kinds into an empty backpack then stash the backpack, it takes only 1 slot. Half the space in the bag still lies empty, and that gap is the exploitable margin. From another angle, this swaps the stash's quantity advantage for reserve capacity. A backpack is large, 1 slot can carry a lot. More importantly, she can store chocolate, candy, ham sausages, milk, rye bread, and all sorts of snacks. The category limit vanishes. Tu-Han grasped it at once, then an extra idea sparked: swap the backpack for a big chest. Beside her the young woman continued, I tested it. Once small stuff is grouped, a backpack counts as 1 slot. You can split a food bag, a daily supplies bag, a medical bag, a tools bag, and a miscellaneous bag. The bag is huge, it holds plenty regardless of weight. Carrying a backpack on the road is inconvenient and eye-catching. Once inside the stash it causes no trouble. With the stash fully outfitted we can hold out until the next dungeon. Before entry we must restock anyway, clearing grants rewards to spend in the game shop. Tu-Han was delighted and tried it at once. Sure enough, the backpack could be stored and items were convenient to access. She took out 5 cakes of soap and said solemnly, this sorting trick is very useful, you earned this. The young woman accepted the soap, then added, with spring water and rye bread as payment you can easily pry information from people. Right now necessities work better than money. Tu-Han chuckled, got it, thanks for the reminder. The young woman felt she was taking advantage, looked closely, then offered, my name is Du Bao Van, and you? Tu-Han. Hope we meet again in later dungeons. With that Du Bao Van left. Tu-Han paid it no mind and hurried to the market to find storage chests. Soon she traded 5 packs of noodles for 5 super large chests of 250 liters each chest at least 90% new and very capacious. After sorting she stuffed everything into the stash and freed plenty of room. The next day at exactly 9 o'clock the system's mechanical chime declared, on the 13th day the price level doubles. Power is insufficient, from today supply will be limited. Homes face 3 hours of outage daily and after 8 at night power is cut entirely. Tu-Han muttered, if the shopkeeper still sells noodles, a bowl would cost about 24,000 Bei. Things grow more chaotic, danger presses closer step by step, the only unknown is when the final threshold arrives. She shook her head and stopped brooding, when troops come generals block, when floods come earth dams. Mom, I am hungry. The child's tender voice carried a pleading whine. The young mother's nose stung and tears nearly fell. The home had long run out of food, now there was no power or water, she had no idea how to live on. Be good and bear with it a little, you will not feel hungry soon. The mother forced a smile and soothed her child. Even so her eyes were blank with confusion. No job, no money for food, even if she cast aside pride to beg in the street none would spare a bite. The young mother clenched her fists, even robbery is better than watching her child starve. At that moment 2 pieces of bread fell as if from the sky. Eat quickly. A kind girl offered help. Thank you so much. The mother fed the child in haste, fearing the hard-won bread would be snatched away. I am starving, kind girl, please feed me too. Just a piece of bread, once I get it I will leave. My child of 3 has gone hungry 2 days, please help. The girl panicked and kept handing out bread to drive the crowd back. Yet as the food ran out the crowd did not thin, it thickened. I have nothing left to eat, I am out. The kind girl finally cried out. Why save them but not me? I am starving too. You must still have something, hand it over. For my child I must take that bread. With the arguing people shoved and surged. After a long while she finally recalled that after 10 days one could clear the stage and teleport at will. She hurried to send a request to the system, but it was too late. No reply came and the enraged crowd grew more violent. In an instant the kind girl collapsed helplessly, her stamina fell to zero. A middle-aged man past 40 with hollow eyes and scruffy beard sank into despondence. He sold used goods and at around 4 or 5 before dawn often lined up at the supermarket door. It usually took 4 or 5 hours to snatch some food or daily necessities, then he bartered on the black market for cheap corn cakes or rye bread to barely feed his family. Now his situation worsened by the day. Drinking water, food, medicine, and basics dwindled on the shelves while more people pegged him as a reseller. Worse still, many times after sweeping goods he was robbed the moment he stepped outside. A full belly became a distant hope. He even doubted he could keep his household of old and young from starving. Maybe he should rob too. Thinking of the elder at home, the children, and the adults, he pressed his lips thin and made a fleeting decision. In the apartment block several doors stood open, rooms were stripped bare, clearly whole families had fled or met robbers. Tohan found an empty unit on the 10th floor, no one inside and the security doors still intact. She slipped in, shut the door, and brought out pot and bowls to cook noodles. She turned the tap, yellow water flowed out, the metal content was too high and full of debris, seeing it killed any thought of cooking. Tohan shut the tap, poured spring water into the pot, and lit the gas. Luckily gas still worked. After a while the water boiled, she added instant noodles and seasoning, then closed every window. Instant noodles were bad for one reason, they smelled enticing and others could trace the scent. Soon the noodles were done, she filled a bowl with noodles and soup and slurped a big mouthful, eyes narrowing in bliss. In these conditions a quiet hot bowl of noodles was a rare blessing. No sooner had that thought flashed than shouts and pounding feet rang in the corridor. Tohan fell silent. Were their noses that keen, scenting noodles through door and window? She frowned, his belly seemed wounded by a bullet. Chase him, just ahead. Far away a group rushed closer. The young man gritted his teeth, shrugged off his backpack, and flung candles and bottled water from it down to the ground floor. At last he threw the backpack as well and left nothing on him. The pursuers froze. One urged, "Go, pick the stuff downstairs." Another complained, "We chased so long just to let him go." The first was speechless. He has nothing on him, clearly useless, why care whether he lives or dies? With that they hurried off. The water and the candles downstairs were too tempting, someone else might snatch them first, there was no time to linger. Knowing the danger had passed the young man relaxed. Tohan kept slurping and did not meddle, she judged the man a player who could save himself. Only two types can hoard a lot in advance, one is an NPC who runs a supermarket and the other is a player who knows hyperinflation is coming. The young man who set up a stall by the department store entrance and carried a backpack hardly looked like an NPC. If he was smart enough to stockpile he likely had medicine and would be fine after a dose. Unexpectedly the young man shouted, "My name is Chengdu, is anyone inside, could you come help me, I will pay." Chengdu added, "I took a bullet wound, I cannot extract it alone, just lend a hand, it will not be troublesome, I have medicine." The word bullet made Tohan pause, she suddenly remembered to ask him about guns, this was her first sight of firearms in more than 10 days in the game. The door opened a crack. And the scent of seafood noodles drifted out as Tohan stepped into the hall and asked, "How can I help you?" Chengdu started, not expecting someone he had met before, then steadied himself and produced a scalpel, tweezers, hemostatic powder, and bandage. Incise the skin, use tweezers to pull the bullet, dust hemostatic powder, then bandage. Tohan moved to act, but seeing him lean on the wall awkwardly she opened the next room, meaning to drag him in and lay him prone on the floor. Tohan said coolly, "My kindness does not include letting a suspicious element share a room with me." A suspicious element. Chengdu nodded in understanding, understood. The author's note says that without real-world hyperinflation Venezuela would learn what it looks like. Han joked that with enough chests she could pretend to run a tiny supermarket. Venezuela borders Guyana to the east, Brazil to the south, Colombia to the west, and the Caribbean Sea to the north. Many small islands off the Caribbean coast also belong to Venezuela. In the 19th century, the country suffered political unrest and authoritarian rule and remained dominated by military strongmen until the mid-20th century. Since 1958, the country has had a series of democratic governments. Economic shocks in the 1980s and 1990s led to several political crises, including the deadly Caracazo riots in 1989, 2 attempted coups in 1992, and the impeachment of President Carlos Andrés Pérez for embezzling public funds in 1993. Chapter 10, Inflation 9. After a while, Han dragged the man into the room and laid him on the floor. She picked up a scalpel and said seriously, "I will say this first, I have no medical experience. Just be quick." Chung-do clenched his teeth. So Han swiftly opened the wound and did not even blink. Chung-do frowned and silently wanted to complain about this infinite survival game because the pain felt painfully real. Today is the last day of the street stall, some people could not hold back. Chung-do tried to distract himself. "I thought the guards in front of the supermarket would help, but they did not move and only watched." "Shoo." Han neatly pulled the bullet out and asked, "You mean the robber who hit you had a gun?" "Yes." Chung-do forced the word out through his teeth. She did not stop. She sprinkled hemostatic powder and wrapped the bandage. Chung-do panted and asked, "What reward do you want?" Han thought that saying nothing would expose that she was rich. She considered and asked, "Do you have any anti-inflammatory medicine?" Chung-do looked at the girl deeply and suddenly asked, "Player?" "Yes." Han replied. "Name?" Han. "You have a personal inventory and lack nothing?" Han turned her head and said calmly, "If you keep interrogating people like that, the day you get silenced is not far." Chung-do was speechless. NK Books. If this person is willing to help, her morals are likely not bad. Talking about silencing only means she does not want to answer. He kept quiet, took 3 boxes of anti-inflammatory medicine from his storage, and said, "For you." Han's face changed slightly. She had only asked casually, yet he really had it and even gave it. Did he steal from a pharmacy? She lowered her eyes and asked nothing more. "I helped and you paid, clean deal, we owe nothing, handle the rest yourself." With that she left decisively. Before leaving she closed the door. Chung-do lay on the ground like a corpse, then after a long while he smiled bitterly and said, "Careless. Who would expect those robbers he despised to pull a gun as soon as they were losing? Had he known, he would have run instead of fighting." On day 14, prices doubled, households lost power for 4 hours a day, and after 8 at night the power went out completely. For 3 days in a row, Han nested in her room and did not step outside. At 6 in the evening, as dusk fell, she went to sleep and was sometimes woken by gunshots at night. Gradually she got used to it, hearing gunfire like hearing firecrackers. When night came, everything was pitch black, so she could not see what happened. Even if someone smelled instant noodles, others could not tell where it came from. By day 16, things got worse, prices doubled again and the gas supply stopped. In other words, to cook noodles she had to find kindling. She checked the room. Luckily the wealthy family had rough wooden chairs and a sofa that could be used as firewood for a few days. Then she noticed something wrong. Why was there black smoke on the floor below? The door was knocked. She looked through the peephole, saw Chung-do, opened a slit, and asked, "What happened? What must be done?" He did not stay, he turned and left. Everything was in her inventory, so there was no packing. She hurried out. Just after she left, nearly 30 people rushed into that apartment with clear ill intent. It took effort to find a shelter and now it is gone. Relieved to escape, she still sighed. She walked for 40 minutes, entered a farther apartment complex, and planned to find an empty unit. Her heart tightened with a vague bad hunch. She hid herself and peeked down. 5 young men gathered. A rough one pounded the door and shouted, "Open up." Another held an axe and waited impatiently. After a few seconds without an answer, he spat into his hand and smashed the door with the axe. Tahan's eyelid twitched hard. These were bandits. Search every room, leave none. After this block we hit the next. I saw that blonde brat take his brother to the complex next door. We should hurry. If we are late there will be nothing left. Tahan was shocked and concluded homes were no longer safe. Not just one crew but several were taking turns to raid. There was no way to keep living there. But how could she escape now? The elevator had stopped, and the staircase was blocked by men below. The other side split into groups of 5 to raise search efficiency. What now? She thought, then her eyes lit up. She did not force a breakthrough but searched on the 3rd floor. About half the units on that floor were empty. She slipped into one, went to the bedroom to check, and after a few minutes found a floor-length curtain in the corner. Delighted, she shut the door and braced it with furniture. She tore the curtain into strips and coiled them into a rope. Open the door, open the door. The roar outside grew fierce. She ignored it but moved faster. Bang, bang. The axe pounded the door. She glanced once and felt helpless because there was no security door. Each chop sent splinters flying. It would not hold long. Luckily the rope was ready. She tied one end to the iron window frame, tossed the other end down, and slid along it. She let go and dropped the last stretch, then stood up with tingling legs. She checked her status and exhaled. Stamina only dropped by 16, not too much. Escaping was enough. Block the 1st floor, someone ran. The robbers finally got in and saw the rope at the window. Tahan turned and ran. She ran like mad. When the thugs reached the 1st floor, she was already gone. Huff, huff. She ran for a long time without daring to look back, then leaned on a wall, gasped, and sat to rest. She blamed herself for being careless. A few calm days had blinded her to the gangs outside. They used young men as muscle and carried weapons, gathering 2 or 3 dozen people. One person could not cope. She thought it fit that the instance would auto-clear after 20 days. In these last days the difficulty spiked, unlike the earlier phase. Where should she go now? She was briefly at a loss. She stayed alert and on guard. A man over 50 with a beer belly and a bald head came. His gaze was especially unpleasant. Do not be nervous, I am not a bad guy. He puffed out his belly, tried a kindly smile, and said, You must be very hungry, right? Spend one night with me and I will give you some food. Now she knew why she felt disgust. She wanted to feed him a taste of pain and beat him up. Get lost, I do not need it. She refused coldly. Do not be shy. The man talked while trying to sling an arm over her shoulder to force a deal. Tahan snapped a right kick straight at his knee joint. She kicked hard and snarled, Shy, I am shy so I did not want to hit you, greedy much. I told you to scram and you still would not scram. Worried the noise would attract others, she kicked him again and hurried away. After wandering a bit, she felt that although the dungeon map was large, it had no refuge. On the street a gang shook down everyone for protection money. If they got nothing they beat you, if they got something they blocked you again and squeezed you dry. In the alley 2 groups were fighting to the death. Gunshots went bang bang without pause, bullets flew, and she got a graze on her arm by a stray round when she was careless. There was even a crew bold enough to aim at the department store, relying on numbers and guns. The guards drew guns and batons, and a chaotic brawl exploded. Wherever she went there was fighting and there was nowhere to stay. Was teleporting out the only choice? She glanced at the scratch on her arm, and a glint flashed in her eyes. Chapter 11, Inflation 10. NK Books. The suburban hospital lay silent as most staff had left, and a lone nurse stayed to comfort the patients. Nurse, my son has a fever, do you have any antipyretics here? The young mother stared with hopeful eyes, wishing for a miracle. The nurse could only smile apologetically and say softly, We are out of medicine, perhaps try somewhere else. The mother went numb, for she had run through many hospitals and all said there was no medicine. The nurse advised gently, Do not crowd hospitals, try private clinics, the larger ones may have used up or lost their stock. The mother snapped to, Thank you, and hurried out with rushed gratitude. Another visitor arrived with a sorrowful face and near despair, and the nurse admitted, "We have nothing, no medicine at all." She turned away, unable to look, for in this situation infected wounds mostly meant waiting for death. And more than a few were quietly awaiting the end. The newcomer asked timidly, "May I stay at the hospital for a day?" The nurse smiled bitterly, thinking that those who remained were largely the dying, and ordinary people would not lodge here, and even she would not have stayed if not for a late-stage cancer diagnosis. She considered briefly and only said, "Follow me." Tang Han replied with a small smile, eyes flashing, for she preferred a single room to a crowded ward. She used the pretext of asking about the hospital and of needing help with infection to approach. In the lobby, her pupils tightened at the sight of countless red and yellow numbers flickering everywhere. The nurse explained there was a well in the hospital that people used for drinking, not as clean as bottled water but safer than tap water. Many had stomach pain and diarrhea from the tap, and Tang Han reminded that the tap had been cut. "It is fine." She thanked the nurse, found a quiet seat, and checked her stats with satiety at 62%, cleanliness at 58%, and stamina at 73%. Her status was good but with an infected wound. She sighed, for even when she ate sparingly to mask numbers she still stood out. Scanning the hall, she decided she should not stay in the crowd yet. To avoid suspicion, she spent the night in the lobby wearing a sickly look. Meanwhile, an infectious disease spread, and those with weak stamina were easily infected. A note said that for stamina under 50, if satiety plus cleanliness plus stamina exceeded 200 then immunity applied, and if infected one lost 20 stamina each day. Tang Han frowned, feigned fear of contagion to keep her distance, and quietly left the first-floor lobby. She found a secluded corner, washed with soap, ate chocolate and rye bread, and raised cleanliness into the deep green. Then she used anti-inflammatory medicine to remove the infection status. She waited until satiety plus cleanliness plus stamina exceeded 200 and finally exhaled in relief at being immune. A terrifying scream burst from the lobby as if something had gone wrong. After a while, hiding in a single room in the next building, she at last relaxed. On day 18 the situation worsened. The system announced that prices doubled. The town once had 500,000 people and now about 80,000 players and non-player characters survived. The contagion grew worse, and weak stamina meant easy infection, with a note that for stamina under 50, immunity applied if the three stats topped 220, and infection drained 25 stamina per day. Tang Han glanced at her stats with satiety at 90%, cleanliness at 92%, and stamina at 79%, felt healthy and relaxed. Another note said that for stamina under 50, immunity applied if the three stats exceeded 240, and infection drained 30 stamina per day. On day 20 prices doubled again, the outbreak grew worse, and a note said immunity at over 260 and loss of 40 stamina per day if infected. Thanks to a rich personal stash, she stayed calm. Still, the building was deathly quiet, the surroundings empty as if none but her lived, and a faint panic stirred. Time crept on, and as the instance neared its end she felt the late game oddly easy. Yet opening her store revealed heavy drawdown in supplies, and she knew that ease was an illusion. Without hiding in the hospital, under constant crossfire, she could hardly have survived. Without careful stockpiling, lacking only soap or staple food, the debuffs would have chewed through medicine and survival would have been unlikely. Thankfully it was over. Leaning on the wall in a corner, she waited in silence for the game to end. At dawn on day 20 the hand struck 12, and the system voice sounded on time. The first round has ended, congratulations on clearing the extreme challenge. You receive an extra reward. All survivors in the instance will be teleported away. White light flashed and Tang Han found herself back in white mist. A transparent panel popped up listing her name, Tang Han with real name verified, level 1 with experience 20/30, profession nutritionist with primary aptitude and experience 20/30, satiety 100/100, cleanliness 100/100, and stamina 100/100. She mused that in the game her stamina had been light green, and after the instance all stats reset to base, while experience alone still demanded attention. She had survived 20 days and thus needed 10 more to level up. The mechanical voice added, "The system is processing, please wait." After half a minute it continued, "You received 20 times 5 equaling 100 points. You gained an extra reward and may choose two of the following. A. Experience plus 5. B. Points plus 50. C. Caps for satiety, cleanliness, stamina plus 20. Finding shop prices steep and in-game purchases a tricky choice, and needing little restock, she chose A and C. The panel updated her to level 1 with experience 25 over 30, satiety 120 over 120, cleanliness 120 over 120, stamina 120 over 120, and points 100. After the choice the voice announced, "You have cleared successfully, please join round 2 at 8 in the morning tomorrow." She was logged out, and the pod opened slowly. Lying inside, she blinked for a while before regaining composure. She checked the clock at 10:38, still in time for lunch, and realized the virtual reality game used adjusted time flow. She pulled out an induction cooker to boil water and started a hot pot. Meanwhile, the survival game forum exploded with complaints. "Trash game, so many traps," says low satiety and cleanliness drain stamina. "Why does no soap add a debuff that slashes stamina so hard? I am a pro and still failed before day 8, this game is vicious. No skills, no submachine guns, no armor, terrible rating, I traded my backpack for food, the only sharp knife needed trading to get, everything must be scavenged, I am crying for real." Clearly more than a few players had been set up. The author appended notes that anti-inflammatory drugs after use grant endurance plus 20 and clear infection, medical bandages after use grant endurance plus 10 and clear bleeding, that infection requires anti-inflammatory medicine to remove its negative effect, and that using only bandages grants plus 10 endurance yet leaves infection in place. Chapter 12, The Forum. The forum buzzed with posts that contradicted one another. Eliminated on day 5 and my heart collapsed. Seeing the official stats say 160 million contestants joined and only 52 million cleared, I suddenly felt better. A dropout rate over 67% means losing is not unjust. Only 1,206 people cleared, I counted, and the clearance rate is about 0.075 per 10,000. I rolled safely to day 15, then ran into gang brawls. Under shells and bullets I survived not even 10 minutes and had to retreat. Luckily I left early, my stamina was under 8%. I am really curious how the winners did it. Blades and bullets did nothing, or did they find body armor? Someone complained medicines had run out, and if you got sick then on day 20 you would lose 40 stamina points, if not for earlier stockpiles you would be doomed. This is a social revenge game that teaches you how to behave. Strangely I find it kind of fun, haha, it must be an illusion. Others joked that if an NPC saw empty hands it assumed you were dirt poor and not worth robbing. I wanted the personal stash but had no chance to buy, just because I picked a class a bit late. When I reached the mall the stash was already gone. Then in the instance I hoarded a pile of supplies, carrying them everywhere was a pain, in the end I had to drop things and my heart bled. Amid the noise a professional post appeared, summarizing notes to pass the first dungeon challenge. The host said the list contained materials needed to avoid debuffs. After day 15 gangs fight across town and disease spreads. In reality you can hide in the mountains and survive in the wild for about 5 to 6 days. If water and food are sufficient, going to the mountains is actually safer. Skimming it, Tuhan saw stress on staple foods, daily toiletries like soap or body wash, and at least 500 milliliters of drinking water per day, and she frowned. This is a survival game with many future rounds, and the host is foolish to share such key info. Soon the thread stacked to dizzying height. May I ask how many days you lasted, or did you clear? Curious, did you experience this yourself or dream it up? No wonder I had many debuffs, my stockpiling was wrong, please point the way, if the info is right I will stock accordingly. After over 20 floors the host appeared, everything is true, although I died on the 8th day I have a boss friend who cleared smoothly, I asked him before posting, so feel free to use it. Tuhan fell silent. Onlookers roasted him, we were about to thank you, turns out you offered borrowed wisdom. Did you get the boss's permission? With a friend like you, the boss is unlucky for 18 lifetimes. Infinite survival is full of pits, distilling lessons is hard, a friend told you in confidence and you sold it. Others poured heart and sweat into insights and you disclosed them at will, words fail. What do you want? Praise for skill and kindness, have you no shame? This is their knowledge, not yours, what right do you have to play the good guy? No wonder you died on day 8, beyond help. Many are still playing and you expose crucial info, trying to sync them. In a blink the thread passed over 100 floors. The host tried to delete but it was too late, within hours there were hundreds of thousands of views and countless reposts. Terrifying. Tuhan bit a piece of mutton and read on. The first VR survival game still made huge waves. Not only were registrations massive, the forum spawned over 30 new posts every minute. Tuhan found few truly relevant posts, most were chatter or venting. Smart players kept their trump cards and avoided key points. Another expert post appeared titled "Surviving Harsh Trials is Nothing to Celebrate." It claimed the extra reward was only 5 bottles of water and 5 loaves of black bread, then argued that without considering extras the optimal exit day mattered most. The writing flowed, yet replies came. I guess the host did not clear, the extra reward is not like that. Stop spreading dying tips, clear first then teach. Not a clearer yet still babbling, who gave you the nerve? The poster swore the numbers were real from a close friend, but a barrage followed. Those who cleared say your extra reward claim is nonsense, no more words. Nonsense +1. You were tricked. Always prevent fire theft and friend leaks. Yes, you truly are a good friend, trying to mask data. The host then vanished, and the crowd judged the friendship boat had capsized. Bored, Tuhan returned to the Wildborn forum to reread old posts, wishing to memorize every survival tip, because reading and remembering differ, only when burned into your mind will you recall what to do under stress. Unexpectedly, that forum also had many threads on the infinite survival game, suggesting many registrants, yet posters cleverly avoided sensitive topics. First time using a slingshot, I missed every bird, train for about 3 days to get used to it, train 5 to 7 days to be proficient, selling roasted sparrows and pigeons I lived comfortably, smug grin. Each day I catch about 8 fish or more, ha ha ha, my fishing practice paid off. How does scallion pancake taste? I make shrimp cakes, edible but a bit cloying if eaten non-stop, but for survival we endure. After reading, Tuhan felt members there lived quite well thanks to constant survival study. Clean water is essential and never omitted, food is indispensable and higher energy is valued, meaning staples, and by instinct in early game everyone seeks more supplies, thus their survival rate is extremely high and some even earn money. A post narrated camping, trapping, firemaking, and division of labor, and replies bowed to the boss praising the host as awesome. Tuhan stayed quiet, likely a true professional, and even if explained others could not copy due to knowledge gaps. NK Books. She sighed, decided to sleep, for tomorrow the second round begins, she must rest to face the new challenge. She slept soundly. At 8 in the morning contestants logged in on time. As before, in a blink thick fog wrapped Tuhan. Do you want to enter the mall to shop? This time she chose yes. The mall panel appeared. Most sold-out items were restocked, yet the personal stash and the wonderful gift pack had vanished. She guessed the first hour in an instance was crucial in the system's calculus. She bought 100 bars of soap, 100 bottles of water, 20 slices of buttered meat bread, 40 packs of instant noodles, and 69 bags of steel pellets. She received an empty food chest, an empty daily goods chest, a medicine chest with 10 bandages and 7 boxes of anti-inflammatories, a materials chest with 5 candles, 5 lighters, 1 magnesium rod and 1 fire starter, and a tools chest with 1 backpack, 2 slingshots, 1 fishing rod and open pellets. Feeling ready, she exchanged 15 remaining points for 1,500 bay and closed the panel. The system asked, preparation complete, enter the game now. Without hesitating she chose yes. White light flashed and Tuhan officially entered Stage 2. Chapter 13, Natural Disaster, Part 1. The system announced, this stage is a survival game set amid natural disasters, please try your best to stay alive. Note 1, survive past the 10th day and you meet the clearance condition, you may ask to leave the instance at any time. Note 2, if stamina falls to 0 the character dies and the player is eliminated. Note 3, the more days you survive the greater the reward for clearing the challenge. Note 4, if you complete the extreme challenge of surviving 20 days in this instance you will receive an extra reward. After 20 days all surviving players will be teleported out. Note 5, on Island B5 there are 30,000 players and 70,000 resident non-controlled characters. Note 6, from 9 o'clock this morning the disaster officially begins. In other words, there is about 1 free hour left. Murmuring, Tahan walked toward the pharmacy and pondered which disasters might come. After a long think she listed the usual ones such as drought, cold surge, flood, rainstorm, tornado, blizzard, and sandstorm. Then she recalled the instance as an island. Water on all sides could drown everything. Worse yet, she spawned on the main road and must find shelter by herself. So that is it, she said and hurried into the drugstore. At the door she met an acquaintance. Chengdu? What a coincidence, Chengdu replied blandly and kept sweeping goods from the shelves. Knowing a wave of players would soon arrive, Tahan also rushed to shop. Soon she finished. She bought 3 boxes of anti-inflammatory pills, 10 tubes of ointment, and 10 boxes of green oil, costing 400 Bay. Ointment, after use stamina plus 20 and the cracked state disappears. Green oil, after use stamina plus 20 and the mosquito bite state disappears. Someone else was lavish and swept items straight into a cart as if price did not matter, and the two of them emptied the store. Will the shelves be restocked? The clerk smiled, inventory is sold out, a new shipment will arrive by boat tonight and may be on shelves tomorrow morning. Tahan translated that as, sold out, come back tomorrow morning. She felt regret yet relief for coming early. The culprit Chengdu greeted her and said calmly, I will take a look around to learn the terrain. Goodbye. She thought he might search for more drugstores, with many players logging in she preferred to avoid the crowd. Not long after leaving she heard wails, why is the medicine gone? Who did this? I ran as fast as I could, how can it be empty? Being one of the sweepers, Tahan quietly quickened her pace. She bought buttermeat bread at 10 Bay each, she bought 80 in one go and finally reached 100. Then the system voice sounded, at 9 o'clock the game officially begins, on the first day a thick fog covers the island. Is thick fog also a disaster? Tahan shivered, then she noticed vision dropped sharply. She used to see beyond 10 meters, now the mist was everywhere and she could barely see 5 meters around. Sizzle, crash. A traffic accident happened right beside her, the fog came too suddenly, the driver failed to react and 2 different cars collided. Next the system posted, due to lack of manpower the Volunteer Association urgently recruits road guards at various intersections. Volunteers only need to contact hospitals during car accidents and escort the injured. A total of 100 people are needed for a term of 5 days. Tahan whispered, the game is pointing us to part-time jobs for money, pity the position is poorly arranged. The wage of 80 Bay without meals or lodging was worse than her former waitress job, and with the fog long-range observation was impossible. If a driver swerved and hit a volunteer then the pay would not cover medicine. This is a robbery. The roar cut her thoughts. 2 men stood on her left and right. The left one wielded a knife with a vicious face, his status read, satiety 89%, cleanliness 92%, stamina 100%, state perfect. The right one held a baseball bat like a street thug with a haggard look, his status read, satiety 91%, cleanliness 90%, stamina 100%, state perfect. Player or non-controlled, Tahan wondered. The right one banged the bat on the wall and threat, do not wait, everyone else is busy taking the injured to hospitals, no one will save you, hand over all your cash and I might spare you. The fog worked like a natural curtain so even trouble would go unnoticed. Tahan blinked and said, but I have no plan to let you go. She drew a slingshot and steel balls. The man froze, what? The steel pellets flew like they had eyes and struck the backs of hands and wrists, the pain was sharp. The 2 men yelped and dropped their weapons. One cursed, damn it, she carries a weapon, is she a player? They had thought robbing a woman would be easy yet met steel instead. Tahan gave no answer and loaded again. The other snarled, "Stop hitting, keep hitting, and stamina will run out." Pellets on joints doubled damage, yet with high base stamina they still had plenty. He only felt too embarrassed to admit the pain. Tahan said coldly, "Life on the street demands a price. If you dare rob, then dare take the blows." He was speechless. She drew to shoot, the other hissed, "Run now, fog is thick on all sides, just run far and she cannot aim." The pair snatched up their weapons and fled. Tahan tagged one in the shoulder, he clenched his teeth and sprinted away. She sighed because a slingshot is fine for defense or small game but poor for pursuit. By the time she loaded and aimed, the target had fled. Robbery right after entry, maybe they skipped buying a portable stash and lost their supplies, she muttered, then chose a direction and moved on. She thought job hunting would be easy and carefree, yet rejections piled up. "Sorry, you lack the skills we need. Try somewhere else, we require specialists, you are not a fit." She forced a smile. She learned bakery as a gopher, so why demand specialists? But she admitted finding a fit was hard, either entry bars were high or only manual labor remained. The wage of 60 bay a day barely covered daily meals and basics. Housing hawkers shouted, "Seaside villa for supreme enjoyment, only 300 bay per day. For star hotel, single room, 3 meals, 150 bay per day. Homestay, 1 person 1 room, lunch included, 100 bay a day." The cheapest bamboo house by the sea was shared, 2 floors with the first as common area and the second with 4 rooms. Each room cost 50 bay a day and meals were self-catered. The broker fell silent because she was penniless. After paying 5 days of rent, she had only 50 bay left. She received the key. The bamboo house was actually nice. There were rattan chairs, a wooden table, a wooden bed, and a quilt. The place was spacious and better than the staff dorm in the first instance. After tidying up, she took a bucket and headed to the shore. Being idle, she planned to fish, yet on arrival she needed no rod at all. Many small crabs and snails were washed ashore and she even picked up 2 oysters. Just strolling and picking along the beach secured a hearty meal. Locals were so used to it they barely bent to pick, but it was her first time seeing this, so she happily stowed the rod and gathered seafood. Before long the bucket was full and she carried it home in high spirits. Chapter 14, Calamity Part 2. In the kitchen, sugar, salt, soy sauce, and every spice were ready, so Tahan rolled up her sleeves. She took 2 fresh fish to make soup and sliced some sashimi. When the soup boiled, she dipped the sashimi and lifted it out. The flesh turned silky and tender. Tahan ate piece by piece with delight, only wishing for sesame oil and peanut butter to dip. Remembering this was a survival game and money was scarce, she held back her craving. From afar, Chengdu smelled the rich aroma of fish drifting into his nose. He looked around warily and followed the scent. Finding the bamboo hut and the diner inside, he grew more puzzled. "Do you still remember this is a survival game?" Tahan popped fish into her mouth, her face saying she was already desperate. "The fog is not dangerous, what else can I do?" In the end she treated it like a vacation. "No work today?" Chengdu asked on. Tahan kept silent. Failing to find a job did not need to be said. In a flash, Chengdu understood, a bit helpless. "Do you still find me suspicious?" "I can live well on my own in this game, I do not plan to seek help." Tahan said it tactfully. Chengdu was speechless, realizing she trusted no one, not just him. After a pause, he spoke seriously. "I owe you a favor. Do you want to know how newbies clear the entry stage? I can tell you for free." Then he changed his tone. "If you feel embarrassed, just treat me to a meal." Even as he spoke, his eyes slid to the grilled oysters and sashimi. Tahan was wordless. She sighed inside. Was he really here to freeload? She knew some foods were easy to store yet tasted bad, like black bread. In hardship for survival, one swallows no matter how bitter. With choices, anyone wants a better meal. Yet someone as resourceful as Chengdu, rich enough to sweep pharmacies, why hover here instead of dining out? She reasoned he wanted to repay a favor, the mooching was incidental. Crises come with power cuts and water loss, so when I entered the game I stocked 100 soaps, 100 compressed biscuits, and 700 bottles of water, planning to profit after taps failed. Luckily I was right. Chengdu smiled faintly. 700 bottles of water. Tahan admired him, yet she wondered. Where did the candles come from? Stored in an abandoned warehouse I stumbled on, in game terms a resource point discovered by a player. He replied, while she lowered her gaze. She thought the beach was also a resource point that occasionally fed people. He continued. After tap water became unusable, business at my stall boomed. I bartered for many useful things, then got hunted and met you. After leaving the apartment I saw fights everywhere, so I hid in the mountains until the instance ended. Hide in the mountains? Tohan's face shifted. She recalled a forum post saying someone's friend also hid in the woods to pass safely. I saw that post too. I was not the only one hiding. He explained. Tohan shrugged and held out grilled clams. Eat? His experience was not quite useful to her. She would not hoard 700 bottles or hide in mountains. But since he was sincere, she treated him to a meal. The ingredients were foraged and wasting them would be a pity. Chengdu froze. One casual eat and that was it. He had not spoken to claim payment. When he was badly hurt, Tohan helped instead of taking advantage, which showed good character. He shared to hint he was a big shot. With prior ties she could ask and he would agree. Yet she listened and forgot, not trying to hug any thigh. After the oysters, Tohan steamed crabs and stir-fried razor clams. The lonely boss stood aside, ignored, feeling his status drop. Suddenly a thought struck him and he stiffened. Only that could explain her indifference. She was already strong and needed no backing. Can you not tell? Tohan grumbled. I look fierce and dangerous. One glance says I am not easy to mess with. Indeed it was so. Chengdu drew a long breath and changed the subject. Never mind, I am full. With that, he turned and left. Tohan stared at his back, at a loss for words. There remained several caddies of stir-fried clams, a few caddies of steamed crab, and a caddy of fresh shrimp. She wrapped the crabs and clams and went out to set a stall. She did not worry about food, but her purse was thin. She had only 50 bay left. With that little, she could not stay in the bamboo hut until day 20. Earning money was urgent. Razor clams here, hot clams here. Tohan hawked loudly. Stir-fried clams were especially fragrant, the smell floated far. Smells amazing, how much is it? A girl approached, closed her eyes, and inhaled, hunger on her face. 15 bay a caddy. Before selling, she had surveyed the market and knew the usual price was 25 a caddy. The stall was rough and might turn customers away, so she boldly undercut. Only 15? The girl's heart was moved. She paid, and said, give me a caddy to try. Tohan served quickly, and because this was the first customer, she added more clams and even some steamed crab. Try it, if it is good, come back next time. She pitched warmly, though unsure she would sell again. The girl took a bite and her eyes widened. The clam meat was plump, the seasoning perfect, delicious indeed. It is really good. A wavering joy rose in her heart. Glad you like it, enjoy it slowly. Outwardly calm, Tohan had been uneasy. After the praise she smiled in relief. The aroma spread wider, passers-by smelled it and turned in. Razor clams, right, give me a caddy. Do you sell crab? How much a caddy? How is the taste? I will take 2 caddies of clams, but hey, why only one flavor? The clams and crabs were from the beach, and bowls and chopsticks were borrowed from the hut. With no cost, she sold generously. Ask for more and she added more, ask for crab and she gave crab. Hearing a complaint about one flavor, she answered at once. This is my first day selling, I did not prepare more flavors, please accept my apology, I will add extra clams. The person fell silent. About an hour later, the seafood sold out. Counting the money, Tohan found she had sold 14 caddies of clams and earned 210 bay. She was dazed, feeling like a jobless girl forced to start a business and then soaring to life's peak. After cleaning the stall, she headed back when customers still tugged her sleeve, reluctant to leave. Your clams are so good, will you sell tomorrow? Please prepare a lot, that amount is not enough. I will sell, I will sell. Tohan nodded repeatedly. She had not earned enough rent and had no time to rest. On the way back, she pondered the second instance again. What was it really? Just heavy fog. Walk slower, drive slower, and life went on. How was this survival? Without meeting Chengdu, she might have thought she connected to the wrong server and entered a business sim. Lost in thought, she suddenly heard a harsh break and a heavy crash. She turned and saw a volunteer in uniform struck hard by a car. The corner of her mouth twitched, thinking the volunteer job was truly high risk. Not signing up had been a wise decision. Chapter 15, Calamity 3. All of a sudden, Tohan heard a strange noise. Oh oh, oh oh oh. It sounded like someone was being gagged by force. Hurry and take him away. The voice was low yet still audible. A shiver of sounds followed. Alarm bells rang inside Tohan, and she recalled that volunteer jobs were issued by the system, which meant the guards were not necessarily players. Someone right ahead was colluding to kidnap, clearly aiming to swindle and loot. Through the thick fog she could not tell how many they were or what plan they had. To avoid trouble she slipped away, pretending she had heard nothing. On the third day, visibility dropped sharply. To avoid drawing her roommate's attention, she slipped out at dawn to the beach to gather seafood. After filling a bucket, she kept some as daily meals and sold the rest. With fair prices and tasty cooking, many customers came each day, and she easily earned about 300 to 400 clams. She spent nothing on meals, and with 10 baht she could buy 2 bars of soap for daily hygiene. By the fourth day she had not touched her stash yet and already held 1,000 baht. Counting the 20-day challenge, she needed 750 baht to pay rent for the remaining 15 days. Yet a brawl was underway when she arrived. A male customer glared and barked that on day 1 she had promised medicine would be restocked the next day. On day 2 she blamed a shipping delay and asked him to wait 1 more day. On day 3 the ship still did not arrive, and now it was day 4 and the shelves were still empty, making him suspect she was toying with him. The clerk wilted and said she was not lying, the ship simply had not come and she was going crazy. Tohan felt a bad hunch that the supply boat was delayed by an accident or might never arrive. May I ask, does that ship carry only medicine, or does it deliver everything for the island? The clerk shut her eyes and said that all daily goods for the island came on that ship. Tohan's heart sank, as expected. She spun around and ran to the supermarket. The man muttered that she had cut in and run off, then realized that if the ship never came and the pharmacy ran out, the supermarket would also be empty. The clerk pressed her lips and nodded. Running hard, Tohan pieced the dungeon together. The island produced nothing and relied entirely on outside shipments. The fog did not harm directly, it just caused traffic accidents, yet it cut the island off from the world. Most people were content and unguarded, unaware that disaster loomed. The supermarket could only rely on inventory, and without resupply it could not hold for long. Even the daily inflation rate announced by the system was already terrifying. Worse, with each passing day people would plunge deeper into despair, edging toward hell with no hope in sight. The calm surface made this sudden survival crisis even scarier. Her heart still trembled and would not settle. The supermarket came into view. She went in without hesitation and started spending. If food and water ran out, she could even pay rent with a loaf of bread or a bottle of spring water. Though her personal stash was full, her urge to hoard flared. Inside, food and daily goods were already scarce. 1 or 2 people nearby were quietly sweeping shelves, clearly sensing trouble. She acted casual, took 20 bars of soap and 20 bottles of water, then lots of chocolate, assorted candies, biscuits, and pastries. For staples she added towels, toothpaste, face wash, air freshener, perfume, and toothbrushes. She had wanted all soap, but stock was limited, so she filled the gap with other items. Calculating carefully, 20 bars of soap used in rotation with other staples would last until the dungeon ended, 20 bottles of water plus milk from her innate skill would cover drinks, and light snacks plus bread from her skill would keep her full without debuffs. After the sweep she had only 100 baht left and returned to the bamboo house satisfied. Those with cleanliness greater than 80 would be immune. Her stash also gained 3 bottles of milk, 1 meat butter bread, and 1 chocolate cake. She sighed sadly. Once people begin fighting over essentials, the supermarket collapse is near. She shook her head and started steaming crabs. By the 4th day, beach gathering grew harder. More people came to snatch after hearing the news, crowds swelled, and washed ashore seafood dwindled. That morning she toiled long and got only half a bucket. She had planned to rush the pharmacy first and then gather more, but her mood was gone. Gnawing crab, she felt that survival games were indeed full of pits. Anyone who relaxed in past days would be very unlucky later. For one moment she even thought there was no need to rush to trade money for supplies because disasters would not affect the store hours, and now she only wanted to laugh at herself. People living long in safety tend to drop their guard, believing peace will last forever, yet crisis always comes. Eating? Someone greeted her. She looked up and saw her co-tenant, Tu Yen Tuet, about 25 or 26, like a fresh graduate, living next door. The second floor had 4 rooms, 2 were vacant, which meant only the 2 of them lived in the building. Want a bite? She offered. How could I be so shameless? Her mouth said so, yet Tu Yen Tuet sat down honestly. It's fine, I cannot finish alone. She smiled. With plenty of stock and gathered seafood, she did not mind doing a good deed. Eating while chatting, Tu Yen Tuet asked where she came from and why she lived in the bamboo house. Tohan wondered whether this girl was an NPC or a player, since she ate her crabs and interrogated her. Judging from the fresh graduate look, Tohan casually made something up. I see. Tu Yen Tuet lowered her eyes, deciding this must be an NPC, since what player in a survival game would be shy about too much food and invite others to eat? She froze for a beat and shifted the topic. I quarreled with my family and left to live alone. It sounded reasonable that she rented a cheap bamboo room. Tahan glanced and thought she would have believed it if this girl had not come mooching meals again and again, since she usually scrimped like someone from a post-apocalypse story, clearly a player. Whatever she said would not fool anyone, and knowing or not did not matter, since Tahan always played online games alone. After the meal, Tu Yen Tuet casually advised her to store more daily goods and food in the room these days. Why? Tohan feigned confusion. The fog is getting thicker by the day. With more stock you do not need to go out often. What if a car hits you the moment you step outside? Tohan nodded deeply. Makes sense. As she left, a faint smile rose on Tu Yen Tuet's lips. Tohan stroked her chin and felt this roommate did have a conscience, paying back a meal with a reminder. The author has something to say. Tohan says she always plays online games alone. The author admits the same. The system just laughs, haha. Chapter 16, Calamity 4. Tuhan sat on a rattan chair and stared outside, a hush of fear rising as the fog grew thicker. Inside the haze she could see only half a meter around her, farther out everything vanished. If crowds gathered to block and rob, anyone caught would be unlucky. For safety she stayed put in the bamboo house. At 9 in the morning the system announced that on the 5th day the fog on the island had lifted while layers still wrapped the sea around. As the words fell, the island fog thinned, yet her mood sank further. People could roam the island, but the sea rim stayed veiled, so supply ships would likely fail to dock. Folks might get rhinitis and the hospital's drugs were gone, chaos might soon flare. While she pondered the stage clear, the system chimed again that experience was 30 of 30, congratulating her on 1 level up and 1 grade of aptitude. A clear panel showed her real name verified, level 2 with experience 0 of 30, occupation nutritionist with mid-aptitude and experience 0 of 30, satiety 220 of 220, cleanliness 220 of 220, and stamina 220 of 220. The mid-talent said that each day in a dungeon there was a 45% chance to get 1 meal of 1 bottle of milk and 1 black bread, a 10% chance to get a luxury meal of 3 bottles of milk plus 1 buttermeat bread and 1 deluxe chocolate cake, and a 1% chance to get a super rare food, noting probabilities could occur together. She froze, for after leveling all 3 bars were full though she had skipped breakfast. The talent felt truly practical. With future levels, the food drop rates would rise, even adding a rare food line with tiny odds. Though unclear what rare food meant, it must be great. Leveling added 100 to satiety, cleanliness, and stamina, which thrilled her. The base cap had been 120, and dropping below 60 cleanliness caused rhinitis, but now the cap was 220, so worry eased. Only now did she grasp how vital clearing key challenges was. Post-surging and early exit to save cost were meaningless. News that the hospital's medicine was spent plunged the island into panic. People ran about asking why there were no drugs and where the ships were. Staff had to admit ships had not come for days and none had docked since the fog arrived. The moment that truth spread, uproar followed. So the island had burned through stock, and all asked how long it could last and when ships might return. Doubt piled up, and hearts sank. A crowd rushed the market to grab goods before they vanished. At 12:16 at noon, the system droned that the market had been looted and inventory was gone, and it would close completely. She muttered that the turmoil had arrived. A knock then hit the bedroom door. She startled, thinking the chaos had reached her home, but reason said not yet. She opened. Something happened. Xiao Yanyu wore a grave look, saying ships had missed days, supplies shrank, and asking whether Tu Han had stocked up as advised. Tu Han nodded that she had. Xiao Yanyu exhaled and said that hiding in the bamboo house should carry them for days. Tu Han felt awkward because rent covered only to the 5th day and she had to move at dawn. Xiao Yanyu cut in sternly that outside was a mess, asking where else to go, urging her to stay since near the sea they could forage seafood at night. Tu Han kept quiet, wishing to solo, yet the other seemed intent on dragging her along. She wondered if Xiao Yanyu was truly skilled and could carry too. Suspicion lingered, but since she had posed as a non-player character, she would not reveal she was also a pro, merely agreed that it sounded reasonable. Then Xiao Yanyu took a businesslike tone and asked how much she had prepared. Joy flashed in her eyes as if she had found a gold vein, though she coughed to mask it and coolly praised that the stash could make them last longer. Tu Han sensed something off and a thought flickered. At first she had taken the reminder as goodwill, but now she suspected the other saw her as a resource node, coaxing her to buy supplies to later harvest them under a pretext. Where are the goods? Where did you put them? Xiao Yanyu pressed on. Tu Han stared back in silence, her guard rising. No need. Hearing the wrong note, her voice turned cold. Xiao Yanyu seemed ready to talk more, but after a glance around she swallowed it and smiled faintly, saying that each would keep their own things. Tu Han answered, secretly sizing her up with probing eyes. Back in her room she brooded. Near dusk she carried instant noodles to the kitchen. Downstairs Xiao Yanyu was busy, filling empty barrels with tap water and setting them aside while water boiled on the stove. Tu Han halted. Water kept in barrels without lids would breed bacteria, and boiled water left open would too. She did not know how the game treated such things or whether a debuff would apply, but since she had mineral water she had never tested it. Thinking it through, lack of clean water would surely bring penalties, and drinking unclean water risked illness, so tap water with some microbes was still better than the other two ways. All right. Calm as ever she moved beside Xiao Yanyu, inwardly ready to counter any cheap shot. I am storing extra water so we have it when needed, since power, water, and gas may be cut. Xiao Yanyu said anxiously. Tu Han's face stayed blank, feeling the other had ignored her note about rent ending by dawn yet spoke as if they would live together long term. Still she showed nothing, just poured the boil to cook noodles and added seasoning. Aroma rose and spread. Xiao Yanyu inhaled and praised the smell, saying she had not eaten noodles for long and had forgotten to stock them, finishing with regret. Tu Han asked what she had stocked. Corn flour and various steamed buns. Xiao Yanyu smiled sheepishly and said she had fled home with little money and bought cheap staples. Tu Han thought the act was tight, seamless, and intact. If you want, I will give you this pack, she said slowly. But her roommate went on that she actually craved stir-fried cornflour and corn porridge, and proposed a trade. Tu Han turned slowly, incredulous, and asked trade. She replied that the roommate had just craved noodles, while she happened to want cornflour, so a swap made sense. Xiao Yanyu fell silent. What kind of scheme was that? It was eating her own food. In her mind, thanks to her reminder, the roommate had stocked up and should be grateful enough to offer dinner when she voiced a craving. She lowered her eyes, but Tuhan still pressed that they should eat the cornflour first, since if power, water, and gas were lost, noodles could still be eaten dry but cornflour could not, so it was wiser to finish the flour now. Xiao Yanyu's eyelids twitched, for not only would the other refuse to share but also aimed to clear out her pantry, which was returning good with spite. No, we each handle our own. She snapped and stormed back to her room. Tuhan murmured just loud enough not to be heard that she had thought the other might kill for supplies and that she had overestimated her, for in truth the woman simply relied on a thick skin to scrounge food and drink, and folded at the first cold refusal. Chapter 17, Calamity 5. At midnight, knocks sounded outside the bedroom door. Talk, talk, talk. Tuhan startled awake. The knocking persisted. Standing outside was indeed Xiao Yanxue. She said gravely before dawn, "Let's go to the beach to pick seafood? Waves can toss seafood ashore any time. At night there is less competition." But rich Tuhan felt lazy and did not want to go out. "If you want to go, go, I am not going." She moved to shut the door and sleep again. Xiao Yanxue blocked the door. "Urgent, the cargo ship may not come soon, a week's stock cannot last, let's gather more now." Woken at midnight, Tuhan snapped the last thread of patience and said coldly, "Then you go pick, whatever you get is yours, I will guard the house." She had planned to lure her out, then sneak back to steal supplies and flee. Unexpectedly the other refused to leave the room. Tuhan smiled thinly and said, "Do whatever you want, but do not order me, I will handle my own contingencies." Some people mistake kindness for weakness, only a cold face reminds them others can be angry. Xiao Yanxue froze, chills rising, clearly she had been seen through. "If nothing else, please leave now." Though she believed she helped, the truth was different. Tuhan had prepared long ago, hence her leisure cooking seafood at home. Xiao Yanxue trembled with anger. "I came to help and you drive me out, fine then." Tuhan continued, "If I say nothing you will not leave, right? Going to pick seafood is fine, but why knock at midnight to force me? That is obviously a scheme. I will not force myself. Know this, my supplies were stored beforehand, I owe no favor, and I take no orders." "Understood, now get out." Xiao Yanxue stood rooted, while Tuhan leaned on the door hoping for a rash move to justify self-defense. After a while Xiao Yanxue turned around and left. Tisk, so scary. Tuhan shut the door with regret and went back to sleep. At dawn the system chimed day 6, a tornado passes, weak people may be blown away, satiety above 80 grants immunity. Air quality is poor due to fog, rhinitis may occur, cleanliness above 60 grants immunity. Cold water on her face woke her fully. She thought the fog lasts 5 days, the dungeon totals 20 days, so there are 4 disasters. After fog a debuff lingers, cleanliness under 60 risks rhinitis, so after the tornado there may be a satiety debuff too. By the end 3 or 4 debuffs stack, any shortage quickly drains stamina. With that clarity she relaxed. Survival games are never easy. She went downstairs to cook noodles and found all water bottles on the first floor gone. Could it be? She hurried upstairs to check the next room. The door was unlocked, the room empty, clearly Xiao Yanxue had fled. So she has a pocket warehouse. She mused, no wonder she used empty barrels, pocket storage keeps items fresh, each slot stacks 100. That way drinking water would not be a problem later. As for leaving without goodbye, with her plot foiled, running was normal. With no one else home she need not pretend to be an NPC. Tuhan put away the noodles, gnawed a chocolate bar, opened milk, and sipped. Outside the gale rose with eerie hoo sounds. On the chair she felt wind pierce the walls into the house. The bamboo hut blocked wind poorly and felt chilly, yet living alone meant fewer hassles. A knock came and she raised a brow. Rent collection? Yes. The agent nodded. No cash now, only payment in kind, food or daily goods for rent. What prices? Bamboo hut costs 1 pack of instant noodles per day. He added other items are negotiable. What about other places? The agent was stunned by the question. Villas, 4-star hotels, homestays, and so on. Thinking she looked poor, he still answered honestly, villa is 10 packs per day, hotels are closed, homestay is 2 packs, self-catering. A villa was too expensive. She asked how many floors does the homestay have, I like higher floors. 5 floors, is that high enough? Plenty. She took out 2 packs. Today's rent. If safety failed she might leave early, overpaid rent would be hard to recover, so paying daily was best. The agent twitched but agreed fine, I live on the ground floor of the homestay, collecting rent is convenient. Deal done, she packed a backpack from pocket storage to look like luggage, then said I am ready, let's go. He led the way and she followed toward the hotel area. On the road a person was blown and slammed into a wall. He grabbed the agent, your wall hit me, pay up. Tohan thought the wind tossed him while the house stood still, who hit whom? The house is not mine, I am just passing by. The agent deadpanned, then slipped free, then do not need help. The man froze and the agent bolted, fast enough for the Olympics. Tohan followed without looking back. Soon the homestay appeared. Paying seemed worth it, the homestay was clearly warmer than the bamboo hut. Is room 501 okay? The agent asked. Sure. With the key, she checked the room, a desk, a stool, a wooden bed, quilts, the basics were complete. She thought after the gale there may be rain, then colder weather, better stock some cold-resistant gear. After a quick tidy she went out. Just outside she met a man from room 502, familiar looking. Zhong Rui? Tohan? He broke the silence. I suppose you still do not want teammates, right? Tohan nodded, that is right. Then goodbye, good luck. He waved and left decisively. Watching his back fade, she muttered, why do I meet him everywhere? Chapter 18, Calamity 6. Many shops on the street were closed, the passers-by were sparse yet hurried, and worry flickered on their faces. With no fog shrouding the city, visibility whitened at once. Tohan took a walk intending to find a fleece rug or a quilt to keep warm. Growing tired, she simply set up a stall, stating that she only wanted to barter for fleece rugs or quilts and that prices were negotiable. On the mat she displayed instant noodles, small cakes, toothpaste, and toothbrushes, which drew attention. Soon a customer came over. How do we trade? The woman asked anxiously. It depends on what you have, and whether the material keeps warmth. Tohan answered patiently. A coral-colored blanket with thick pile, the woman replied without thinking. Will 2 packs of noodles do? Tohan asked after weighing it. Too little, the woman protested. My blanket is brand new and very comfy, 5 packs of noodles and 2 small cakes and I will trade, okay? Tohan kept silent because she had not seen the item yet and was not in the mood to haggle. Just then someone else ran over hugging a thick quilt. Ignore her, trade with me. Tohan checked the quilt and found it large, about 1 meter by 2 meters. The touch was pleasant and it felt warm when draped. Camel hair blanket, fully warm, 1 price, 4 packs of noodles, the newcomer blurted, fearing to miss the chance, and since there was no extra food at home and quilts were not urgent, trading for food was economical. Okay, deal. Tohan nodded. She could bargain, but with food in surplus she did not want to dither. The deal finished quickly. She rolled the blanket, slung it on her back, packed the stall, and left. The first customer felt a dull ache of regret, thinking that without that earlier haggling she would have gotten food. At 9 in the morning the system announced on time. On day 7 the tornado is too strong, the weak may be blown away, those with satiety above 80 are immune. The storm is rampant and some areas will see catastrophic accidents. Because of poor air quality from smog, people may get rhinitis, those with cleanliness above 60 are immune. What does catastrophic accidents mean? Tohan wondered. The next second she saw it, a parked car was lifted by the wind and rammed straight into a roadside shop at great speed. Luckily, the shop was closed and empty. Even so, the scene was terrifying. She suddenly felt that the fifth floor was not very safe either. What if a car was blown into her window? Then she thought there was nowhere truly safe in such a gale on the island. Going out meant danger everywhere, staying home was better. Her skill triggered at the same time, so 4 bottles of milk, 1 loaf of black bread, 1 loaf of buttermeat bread, and 1 chocolate cake appeared beside her, clearly 2 meals at once. As usual, she paid the rent with 2 packs of noodles and then nested in her room, wrapped in the blanket while watching the tornado rage. When hungry, she nibbled sweets and biscuits, when thirsty she boiled water, and life was cozy. The next day the system droned again. On day 8 the wind still rages and more areas will suffer catastrophic accidents. She glanced outside and felt this weather could not allow going out. A sudden gust swept through, a huge roadside tree so big that several people were needed to encircle it crashed down, injuring pedestrians and crushing cars. "That is scary," she muttered. Before the words ended, a power pole swayed and was blown away. Right then someone knocked. "It is me, here to collect rent." Tahan did not doubt and opened the door. As soon as the gap appeared, someone kicked the door wide, and the broker was shoved to the floor. She stepped back quickly and was unhurt. Calmly she observed the 4 middle-aged men, each holding a weapon, and asked coldly, "What do you mean?" The bald leader smiled and spoke evenly. "We heard food pays the rent here, so we came to rob." She frowned and knew she had miscalculated. If there were only 2 she could try to fight, if the gap was bigger she could kite and escape, but now she was trapped in the room with no way to evade. She shot the broker a furious glare, hating that he brought them, yet knowing a blade at his neck left him no choice. Tahan lowered her head in silence as if weighing pros and cons. The thug cursed and rushed closer. "Feeling smug, do you need 2 slashes on the face to behave?" When only 1 body length remained, she seized his wrist with her left hand and snatched the dagger with her right, stripping his weapon in a blink and turning him into a hostage. The broker, startled, dodged aside. As the sides wrestled, the long sword wielder grunted, and everyone turned to find an attack from behind. A man with a baseball bat stood there. "Kid, this is none of your business, do not meddle," the bald man threatened. Chun-Yu replied lazily. "After dealing with room 501, it is room 502, I am not foolish enough to leave." The logic was solid. The bald man grabbed a brick and roared. 2 against 3, and they have a woman, what the heck are you afraid of, go." The long sword rose to slash, but Chun-Yu cracked the wrist with the bat and struck the knee and other joints, forcing him to kneel. A blond youth with a kitchen knife slashed at Tahan, and she yanked the hostage in front as a shield. The blade nearly hit his ally, so the blonde recoiled in fright. She advanced with the living shield and without hesitation stabbed the blonde in the wrist. The bald man frowned, not expecting his allies to crumble. Tahan promptly drove the dagger into the hostage's belly and pulled it out, and another body slowly fell. "Why so ruthless?" The bald man drew a breath and changed his tone, for with 3 down out of 4 they clearly could not win. He was left speechless. "If you cannot win, do not preach," Chun-Yu said flatly. Realizing he had kicked an iron wall, the bald man panicked. "Only you are left," Tahan said icily, reversing her grip and closing in. Chun-Yu swung the bat hard into the elbow and then the knee, and the brute who had smashed the door now lay down unable to rise. "They look scary, but they are easy to handle," Chun-Yu commented. "Only easy for you," the broker muttered so softly it was barely audible. Having fought side by side, the sight of Chun-Yu somehow became pleasing. Casting her eyes over the floor, Tahan fretted. "How do we deal with these people?" The broker, trembling, offered. "We can take them to the police station." "There is a police station in this dungeon?" Tahan was stunned. Chun-Yu draped an arm around the broker's neck, secretly tightening his grip. "We saved you, have you nothing to say?" "I have no choice," the broker said miserably. "How about waiving 1 month of rent, would that be all right?" Han raised a brow. You are an intermediary, can you decide that? He admitted he was the landlord posing as a broker, saying that calling himself landlord was troublesome and posing as an agent kept tenants from bargaining. Treat the two of us equally, yes? Han feigned displeasure. Tai Thin sensibly added. I will give you 5 packs of noodles as an apology. That works, she smiled. Then Tai Thin and Chung Yu escorted the robbers to the police station while Han stayed to clean up. After a long while the room finally returned to its original state. Chapter 19, Calamity 7. On the 9th day, the system announced wind level has reached an all-time high. Players are advised to avoid going outside. Because power lines were damaged by the storm, electricity on the island will be suspended starting today. Pipes in some areas were not maintained, colonies in tap water exceed standards. From today the tap water is not drinkable and forced drinking may cause a harmful status. Han murmured, if I remember right, in the first run the power and water cuts started on day 12, it seems the dungeon difficulty has increased. Yet these things did not matter much to her. She stayed calm in her room and sometimes watched the street from the window. Fewer people walked outside, the place looked desolate. Then someone knocked at the door. Learning from last time, Han drew a dagger from her storage, held it reversed behind her back, and opened the door. Chung Du stood outside. She exhaled softly and eased her face yet kept the dagger hidden. What is it? To negotiate the division of the spoils, he answered evenly. The 4 bandits earlier each carried a weapon. In truth Han likes swords. Swords suit offense while daggers guard defense, long and short together raise fighting power. Even so, only with Chung Du's support did they defeat the gang, otherwise the outcome was uncertain, so she felt grateful. I only want the dagger, handle the rest however you like, she said coolly. Chung Du was a bit surprised. There are 4 items, a brick, a dagger, a sword, and a kitchen knife, and you only take the dagger? Yes, she nodded and added, if there is nothing else, goodbye. Thud, the door closed. Outside, Chung Du smiled straightforward, kindly within limits, a principled player. He mumbled as a teammate, reassuring and never a drag, not bad. The next morning at 9 o'clock the system said day 10, the cyclone has passed but small vortices still rampage across the island. Because wind is strong, weaker people may be blown away, those with fullness above 60 are immune. The cyclone caused heavy damage, conditions on the island are severe, please strive to complete the cleanup. Note, until 9 o'clock on day 11, if cleanup progress is below 35% a mid-tier debuff triggers, if progress is from 35 to 70% a low-tier debuff triggers, and if progress exceeds 70% no debuff triggers. She clicked her tongue. Now there are 2 debuffs. Cleanliness below 60 causes rhinitis and fullness below 60 gets you blown away. Not many players will go clean. Worse, today is already day 10, if they only came to try it, players can leave on day 11. After thinking she lowered her aim, do my best and let it be, as long as the mid-tier debuff does not trigger. The word mid already sounded exhausting. After breakfast she wrapped clean cloth on her hands. She had read that cleaning after cyclones often causes injuries and infections, so prevention first. Stepping out of the inn she saw devastation. She thought that if no one cleaned and disease with debuffs followed, it would not be strange. A person arrived and introduced, hello, I am the person in charge of the volunteer association, we plan to organize island cleanup and provide 1 lunch a day, would you like to join? Han agreed quickly. Frankly she had thought only idle people would clean, but with free lunch more non-player characters would join. The supervisor arranged, great, please join a 5-person street cleaning team. She nodded. Unexpectedly the team included Chung Du and Tai Thin plus 2 strangers. The woman said, my name is Pham Nguyen Ngoc, I am 27, a teacher. The young man said, my surname is Phuong, call me Tu Phuong, I am a college student on a frugal trip and got stuck on the island. Han fell silent. Chung Du only said Chung Du and stopped, he seemed hard to approach. Tai Thin said seriously, the mess everywhere hurts the city view, we must clean it up. Han glanced aside, if it did not affect his hotel business he would not be here. Chengdu shot her a look that meant players must craft believable backstories in this world. She stayed calm as if unaware. After greetings, the five split up to sweep, pick trash, and pull weeds. She did not chat and worked fast. Daily pay can breed laziness, since much or little work still earns one meal, why strain? She could not manage others, so she chose to do more to push progress. After one area was cleaned, the system said cleanup progress plus 1%, total progress is 7.6%. Before they could rest, the supervisor came again. On that road a fallen tree blocks the way, please go clear it. At the sight they stared at the tree and at each other. Pham Nguyen Ngoc frowned, the tree is huge, how do we clear it? Tahan said, did the supervisor not give us axes? Tu Phuong turned pale, you mean chop it into firewood? If you understand, start, said Chengdu and began chopping. Tahan sighed and raised her axe. Tai Thin gritted his teeth and joined as the third. Pham Nguyen Ngoc hesitated but followed and deliberately slowed her pace. Tu Phuong's eyes lit and he also slowed. After a long while the great tree was cut into many sections. The system said cleanup progress plus 2%, total progress is 21.6%. How do we handle the logs? Asked Tu Phuong. The supervisor did not say, probably do as we please, answered Pham Nguyen Ngoc between breaths, now doubting whether a single lunch was worth this labor. Suddenly Chengdu asked, does the inn have a warehouse? Tai Thin blinked then nodded fast, yes, a big one. Lend it. No problem, he agreed. Chengdu looked around, if anyone needs wood we split it, otherwise I will take it. I want it. Tahan said without hesitation. He looked at the others. Tai Thin wavered and thought free benefit should not be missed, so he said count me in. Pham Nguyen Ngoc waved, not for me, you all take it. At this moment she only wanted to rest. Tu Phuong frowned, not knowing what they would do with wood, but by the rule never miss a benefit he said, then split among the four. Come help carry, called Chengdu. Pham Nguyen Ngoc did not move, having given up her share she would not waste strength. As Tu Phuong reached out a splinter stabbed his finger, blood flowed and infection was uncertain. He regretted it, if it got infected and there was no medicine today it would be bad, not worth risking life for some wood, so he changed his mind, I do not want the wood, do whatever you like. What about Tai Thin? Tahan asked. She looked at Chengdu and found he was also waiting for her stance. She smiled wryly, seems you will not pass it up either? Split evenly, he said crisply. Okay, she agreed. Wait a moment. Chengdu ran back to the inn and returned driving a 3-wheeled cart from who knows where. Tahan began loading wood at once. Tu Phuong asked, are you not afraid of injury? Pham Nguyen Ngoc cut and looked closely at their hands. Tu Phuong started, oh that is. Their hands were wrapped, this way injuries are unlikely and movement is not hindered. No wonder, he said, then asked, so why did you not wrap yours? Pham Nguyen Ngoc was at a loss and answered gravely, knowing and being able to do are two different things. Tu Phuong nodded deeply, then I will give up and use the time to rest. Chapter 20, Natural Disaster 8. On the other side, Tahan asked curiously, why do you also work so hard to take these logs? Chengdu did not answer and asked back, then what about you, for what? Tahan lowered her voice, of course, because I guess they will be useful in a few days. Chengdu said coolly, same here. He added, for disasters we often see blizzards, sandstorms, and heat, since we can today we should stash some wood, preparing early never hurts. Tahan then understood why neither yielded because both had considered this possibility. They hauled the logs back to the inn, and when they returned the other three were eating. Tai Thin greeted, you are back, come eat lunch, each person gets 3 buns, there are corn buns, white buns, and rye buns, choose what you like. Tahan saw buns as big as a grown person's fist and quite well filled. She grabbed 3 corn buns and began to eat. NK book. Since morning she had spent much energy, so fullness and cleanliness had dropped by more than 30 points. Nearby, Pham Nguyen Ngoc told Tu Phuong the cargo ship has not come for 10 days, what bad luck, who knows how long this will last. Tu Phuong sighed, who can know, after this meal I do not even know where to go next. Fam Yuyan not mused, maybe in the afternoon we still have to cut trees. Looking at her hands, she felt sorry for herself. Tahan cleared her throat and proposed, I say we burn the trees this afternoon, how about that? Fam Yuyan not cried, are you crazy? Tahan was calm, the foreman only said to clear the trees, he did not say how. Tu Fuang doubted, didn't he give us axes? Tahan answered innocently, maybe he never thought burning also works. Tu Fuang was speechless. Tai Thin worried, what if we cause a fire? Before Tahan replied, Chengdu said, have 2 people stand by with hoses, if anything looks wrong we put it out at once, it will be fine. Some zones had water cuts but their area still had water as usual. Tahan urged, since it is uncertain, let us test on one tree first. Strangely, Tai Thin felt persuaded. With 3 of 5 agreeing, the other 2 lost the vote. Thus the burning plan began with a flourish. Chengdu set kindling around trunks, Tahan lit many points with a lighter, and the others stood with hoses ready to control. In practice burning went smoother than expected. After 20 minutes the trees were burned clean. The system announced cleanup progress plus 2%, total progress now 30.6%. The foreman arrived and started next. But was cut off by Chengdu. Because the main work was just preparation and then waiting, the burning was easy and it boosted progress well, so he wanted to take the whole task. Judging the team's efficiency, the foreman agreed. The 5 went around burning trees and progress climbed fast. Cleanup progress plus 2%, total now 37.9%. Cleanup progress plus 2%, total now 48%. Even so, it was still far from the 70% threshold to avoid the debuff. Tahan's side, only united players can turn this around, 1 or 2 people cannot. No one is a born savior carrying the world. Chengdu was relaxed, it is a low-tier debuff, the impact is not big. Tahan thought and agreed, then set it aside. At 9 in the morning next day, the system said cleanup is 64.3%, low-tier debuff triggered, the island ecology is damaged, every day all residents lose 15 stamina. Tahan was shocked that a low-tier debuff cut 15 per day, so what would mid-tier be? Though her stamina cap was 220, 15 was not small, for most level 1 players with a cap of 100 that still meant about 6 days. Not to mention other debuffs also drain energy quietly. She guessed without reaching level 2 soon players would not hold on long. Bad news kept coming as the system said on day 11 a cold wave arrives, temperature drops below 0 degrees, the weak may be frostbitten, anyone with stamina greater than 80 is immune. Tahan felt a chill, low debuff already cut 15 and now deep cold too. At first the island had a beach climate with gentle wind and pleasant warmth, a short sleeve was perfect. Now the system warned of a cold surge and she even felt the room cool sharply. When she traded for the camel fleece she had worried it was overkill, but now she regretted that her winter stock was too little. No one expected the system to drop straight below 0. Everyone would have to fend for themselves because in crisis few can care for others. An icy wind pierced her and woke her up. She shut the window quickly and accepted that in her state she absolutely could not go outside. A knock came at the door. Wrapped in a blanket she opened it. Her Santa had arrived. Chengdu brought gifts, a quilt, snow boots, a fur coat, a scarf, a hat, and gloves, everything needed. She asked through chattering teeth why? With enough medicine she could survive alone though with hardship. Chengdu said evilly, you know I salvaged much jewelry in the previous instance, after entering the second I exchanged it for good money, priced in instance terms that is only like a candle or a bottle of mineral water. Tahan still pressed for you it is nothing but it is not a reason to give me things for free, tell the truth. Chengdu said seriously, I hope you can become my teammate. Why? She asked, baffled. He explained later the game is much harder solo, like a group that storms your room, no matter how strong you are 2 hands cannot beat 4 people, you may well fail to cope, I can tell you are capable and reliable, if you are my teammate I can trust my back to you and not fear a backstab. He concluded these winter items are only a token, accept or not is up to you. Shivering, she yielded to reality. She chose a different payment and said, I do not know how the system assigns players, so we may not meet again. I can only promise that if we meet we are not enemies. If you have trouble I will try to help, and I have a very valuable tip worth the price. Then she taught him the trick of stashing a chest of storage inside personal carry space. After a pause, Chengdu admitted a very strange idea. It also solved his headache about bulky stock. Tohan added, some people even stock barreled mineral water. She gladly accepted the winter gear and suited up. Their relationship drew a step closer. Chengdu suddenly said, I know you can do jobs to earn money in game, but there is an easier way. Later you can trade food and daily supplies for gold, silver, jewels, and currency, then in the next instance sell the gold and jewelry cheaply for cash and stash freely. Tahan saw the light. Gold and jewels cannot be eaten. Late game a bar of soap or a piece of black bread can be traded for valuables, while at the start of the next instance when things are still stable you can swap valuables for cash to have a large sum. Yet she still asked, why tell me this? Was this not a trade of information while she still held free winter gear? Chengdu kept a straight face. Let me put the favor on the tab first. Maybe if the tab grows big and long you will change your mind. Without waiting for refusal he left. From the heart, Tahan sighed that he was truly calculating. Author's note. Chengdu said solemnly, I can tell you are good and trustworthy. Tahan replied blankly, but I still do not trust you. Chengdu cried, ah ah ah. In the game Starving to Death, trees can be chopped and can be burned.